Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another round of epic and exciting racing action in the SimRacing International Thursday GT3 Championship Season 12 as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and none other than what is another round of epic racing action awaits as we've made our way to Italy today for round number 3. We're here at the motorcycle circuit, or at least formerly associated with motorcycle racing, but now a mainstay of club, national and international level series of road racing. It is none other than the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello, a circuit which does span the best part of 3.25 miles and is filled with sweeping bends and one incredibly long start-finish straight. Add it all together, it means track position is going to be critical here, and with 2 sprint races on the cards today for our Masters drivers, it could be that qualifying and exactly where you start for race number 2 as well with the inverted grid could all add up to create a situation whereby overtaking is going to be challenging, and for our drivers they'll need to make sure they stay high and dry at the front of the field. But who exactly is going to be the king or queen of a single lap, and who's going to be daring enough to make an overtake over the course of the race? Well, that's what we're here to find out today as we bring you the race in action live from circuit side on the YouTube channel SimRacing International. Indeed, go to youtube.com and search for SimRacing International SRI, and you can catch it up with all the racing action there. Now, you may be wondering what exactly has happened to the dulcet tones of Chaz Draycott. Unfortunately, he's not available for this week due to personal scheduling, so therefore you have Timu Chaz in the commentary booth, aka myself. My name is Paul Walsh, and I'll be one of your 2 commentators. But don't worry, we have plenty of continuity, because alongside me is the absolute wonderful voice, of course, of Dara Thacker. Good evening to you, Dara, and how are you doing today?
Yeah, evening, Paul. It's looking like it's going to be a good race here at Mugello. Always a good track to come to, particularly with 2 30-minute races on the cards. That really long run, as you touched on, down in towards turn 1, which you would suspect to be a really important overtaking zone, but there are other places around this track you can get it done. 2 and 3, 4 and 5, even up towards the final sector of the circuit as well. It's a real classic, and I think definitely one drivers look forward to, and the fact that we are going to have that inverted grid is going to make the racing feel a little bit different tonight than what we've seen in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, 100%. And without further ado, let's jump into detail and bring everybody up to speed with where we stand after 2 rounds of racing. Starting, of course, we'll look back at our calendar. And as we can see, this is the first round of the season where our Masters and Superstar schedules do deviate from one another. Of course, Superstars running in parallel. There's no broadcast that live today. That'll be post-round as of next week. And don't you worry, we brought up to speed then and there. But here today we are live for Masters. And it's 2 30-minute sprint races for our Masters drivers. It's the 16th of April. It's Mugello's Grand Prix circuit. And next time out, we will be at the Fuji International Speedway as we return to our 1-hour feature race format. But as my good colleague in the commentary booth just mentioned, 2 sprint races here. Indeed, there'll be plenty of action to come. But speaking of action to come, I mean, coming into this round, Dara, we've had an incredible season so far as we look to our Pro Class top 12. But at the very top, it's equal points between 2 Vulkan Motorsport drivers.
And then you've got Mr. Plurg in P6, Mr. Vinchevsky's in P7, and Stephen Donnelly down there in P12. 6 drivers inside the top 12. They're looking strong. But as our Glassdeck Racing managed to hit him strong last week, probably could have got a few more points than he ended up getting in P8. Finished or is in P4 in the standings. Matt Hoyland, his teammates in P8, and William Humphrey, who wasn't here for the opening round, already inside the top 10 in the championship. So really interesting to see where they can go from here. But don't count out Yanis Ulber, a driver who could do very good things in that Lamborghini tonight. We'll have to wait and see, but it's a good start to the championship and set up really well at the front.
Oh, 100%. And we do apologise. We did have a little bit of a latency issue there on my end, I must say. You were saying about our top 2 there, in particular how close they were. If you don't mind just repeating that for our viewers, because it didn't quite come through.
No, I was just saying that, they've been really close this season and they've got a win each, but they equally could have had a first and second each as well. Just difficulties in those other races causing them to finish P5. They're definitely going to be the ones to beat tonight.
Oh, 100%. And as we do look on now to our top 12 for the interclass, meanwhile, well, what we do get to see here is the fact that in terms of our story thus far for these drivers, it has been Adam Baker, who last time out brought home an absolutely brilliant 2nd place finish after his 5th place in the season opener, and Barry Wemman not too far away, but 2 4th places so far yet to take a podium. Will he be able to do so today? And can he perhaps launch his way to the very top for Dexterous Motorsports Quamar? We then do have, or Cyan, I should say, Quamar being a team from the previous season. I've got to get my head out of season 11. But Lewis Hammond there in third place, meanwhile, wore a podium in the season opener. A difficult day in round number 2, and things didn't quite go his way, taking only a 9th place in the end, with Thiago Reisa, the Brazilian driver, yet to really find his momentum, but made his way into the top 5 for the first time last time out. And then we do see Marcel Brereton back there with a slice of toast for his team's logo, and definitely heel feels though there. It was almost as smooth as butter on toast, with third place in the wet weather conditions at Spa-Francorchamps. Miller Bloom there sitting a further 14 points behind, and what a dismal day he had in the office at Spa after his podium in the season opener. Lorenz de Dapper taking what was the victory last time out. Indeed, Adam Baker and Lorenz swapping places midway through the race, and we've got to see the 1-2 there for LS Race, an absolutely infamous moment for the team. And for the Belgian driver, it's only equal points in result count back, the difference between him and Robin Aston, although they are absolutely equal at the moment. And we do see John Lebret for GPX SimSport Onyx behind the sister team driver Vertex, and then Chris Jennings completing that into top 10, and James Howarth and Mark De Vries completing our top 12 in the interclass. But indeed, very tight there right now. And as we do come to the club standings, well, what we can see here, and I'm sure Darryl will be able to fill us in a little bit more because he's seen it all played out so far, is that we have an American driver at the very top who almost made it what would have been back-to-back wins last time out.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, I think, in this club championship. Steve Rubino, of course, leads the way still after that opening race victory at the Hockenheimring. He struggled in season 11, didn't pick up too many points down in B split, but he started this season off so well in that American Ford Mustang as the American driver. Andrew Larkman keeping him very honest at the top of the tree, and Rob Mackay following him through. The thing that we're seeing in this class more than we're seeing in the other classes, almost surprisingly so, is a little bit of consistency at the top. A first and fourth for Steve, 2 podiums for Andrew, a third and a fourth for Rob as well, and 2 fifths for Stuart Rice in P4. It's showing and that these drivers are going to be right the way, or close together right the way through this championship. Owen Seward, Daniel Mellor, of course, winning last time out at Spa. He didn't finish the opening race, so he has 100 of his points, all 100, from just that one round out of 2. Scott Kostrick himself only getting points in a single round, and then you've got the likes of Pete Paeva, the Brazilian driver, in 8th ahead of Brian Beardsworth, and then Michael Rhodes, Andrew Fellows, and he challenged for the top 12, but it's a very competitive a championship, and I think it'll be interesting to see if Daniel Mellor can repeat the kind of dominant performance that he showed at Spa 7 days ago.
Oh, 100%. I agree with you on that one. If he can, he might be really find his momentum. But of course, like you say, so close here. We do have some runaway leaders in our other 2 classes. Meanwhile, the club class are really open. But how does this all translate when we do look to our team's championship meanwhile? Well, what we can see here is the fact that coming into this round, and reminder, of course, these teams split across both of our splits, both Masters and also Superstars. So you won't be seeing all these teams necessarily on the grid today in this Masters broadcast. Well, the DDK Racing team are leading the way on 346 points, but they're only 14 points ahead of the Vulkan Motorsport Gold team. And really, those are top 2 teams, with the leaders there primarily in Superstars and Vulkan Motorsport Gold primarily in Masters. Beowulf Racing team, well, they're a little bit further behind. The best part there of none other than 34 points, but they are ahead of LS Racing just about. And then we do have Samantha Tan Racing or STR, the pairing of Tomlinson Dennis and Seeley. Well, they're in 5th place at the moment and completing those who may be taking home trophies at the end of the season, albeit in the wet weather last time at Spa-Francorchamps. They had a huge gamble when it came to setting up the cars correctly and tweaking the rear wings in the pit lane during the pit stop, and it worked out a treat there for Tomlinson Dennis in particular. In 6th, it's GPX SimSport Xenon on 264 points. They are 16 behind our top 5, but comfortably ahead right now of our 7th place team, the Enduro Titans team. And right now, definitely looking smart there on 262 points, 2 behind 6th, but only 2 ahead of Axis with Sims Coach. And then we do have Vulkan Motorsport and Dark Wing Racing completing that top 10. But I think we can agree, Darren, the fact that right now, whilst our top 2 might be breaking away, it's all to play for in the team's championship.
Yeah, really is, and it's good to see that it's a close at the top of the tree. Raz Harper, of course, and Elliott, of course, and Jared Love doing a great job for DDK for the time being, but the likes of Vulkan, you just really cannot count them out. And there's loads of other teams that are going to be hovering at the moment, with so many teams close at the top that we haven't really seen too much of yet, but have so much time to pull through that it's difficult to call, this early in the season, quite frankly.
Oh, indeed. Only 2 rounds down. We've got plenty more to go. And as we come from recapping our standings, let's talk a little bit about our host circuit for today. And indeed, it is the Mugello Grand Prix circuit, located near the town of Scapia e San Piero in the municipality of Florence in the Tuscany region of Italy. And well, what a circuit is. Central Italy, most of the major Italian circuits are located towards the northern side, but this one's a little bit south of most of them. Length of 3.25 miles or 5.24 kilometres, depending on your preference units, but what doesn't change is 15 corners, corners, and all these corners very fast flying, but a two-dimensional edge, a huge thanks to iRacing.com, not just for their brilliant simulator, but the absolutely fantastic track mats contained within it, doesn't quite articulate just how aggressive this circuit is. So I think what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is we need to make our way back to circuit side and see how our drivers are getting on with regards to qualifying. And we've got about 20 minutes of qualifying left to go, so let's hop, skip, and jump away back to it and see how exactly they're doing. And as they do make their way around, well, no surprises here, Dar. We do have one driver who's at the front right now, albeit the best part of 2 tenths. It's Hayden Miller. I mean, I think the youngster doesn't quite know go slow. All he knows is go fast or go bust.
Yeah, a good gap to have at the front, 2 tenths of a second. And also to note, of course, he's in the Aston Martin. He's the only Aston Martin inside that top 40 right now. He is really a lone wolf in that regard, in how he's chosen his car for the season. And the Aston, you know, it's relatively new to the service, isn't it? Came on in the back end of last year, but didn't really have the pickup that you usually get with newer cars, or GT3s at least on iRacing. It is a relatively, well, it's a very well-known car for everybody. You know, people know exactly how each of them drive, and they have their preferences. And often you get a few drivers trying out the new car. We didn't really have that with the Aston Martin. Nobody's really gone to it, apart from Hayden Miller, and it's working out for him pretty well for the time being.
Oh, 100%. The Aston Martin being a bit of an interesting car because it is front mid-engine rear-wheel drive, which means you've got the engine in the front and you can expect a bit of understeer with the engine behind the front axle just to give a little bit more rotation. And it's not quite the straight-line speed beast that you would see other front-engine rear-wheel drive cars, such as, for example, Maris Hibner in his Mercedes AMG or the Ford Mustangs out there, such as Lewis Kenyon. Although as Lewis Kenyon makes his way around right now, he's definitely had a bit of a difficult season, hasn't he, Darryl? Because whereas a good number of the Vulkan Motorsport drivers really have been celebrating their performances in the pro class, Lewis Kenyon, much like I'd like to say in season 11, he's been perhaps in the shadows a little bit, waiting for his big opportunity.
Yeah, we'll see if he can get it tonight in that Mustang. He's kind of off the back of the front 2 or 3, but definitely consistent enough to be right towards the front. Whether he can break into that group will be interesting, but you can see he's got about a 3/10 mark to anybody in front of him. At the moment, there is a kind of an elite group of 5 at the top right now. He tries to go down the inside as we're racing and qualifying. But it's interesting as well that you've got Menno Blum in 7th place in that interclass, leading the way in class, right ahead of Andrew Lartman, the club driver, in 8th overall. That's an incredible lap time for him in P8. He's into the pit lane now, but you can see the gap that he's got back. The next closest driver to him is Daniel Meller, and he's got a 5/10 gap, which is, I mean, it's big, but it's not huge. But he's got 11 cars between himself and Daniel Meller, and that'll be the key, I think.
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing as well, like you're saying, I think that's a really good spot. Having 11 cars between yourself and your next rival in the club class, and Andrew Lartman parked up at the moment. Our cameras, as you can see, they can get a good appearance of a wall, and, well, they can even get a little bit of glass there. I think right now we're hiding his car for censorship reasons. Joking aside, of course, it's just the way the cameras are set up, but he'll be itching to go a little bit later on. As meanwhile, Rhys Saunders, being one of our drivers, finds himself in that pack of cars. We do have Chris Jennings improve a little bit, and here is the Ford Mustang driver for Axis SimSport with SimCoach, so he's finding some time. And I do wonder perhaps whether this circuit is just going to get a bit quicker. But the other problem they've got is it's a very crowded circuit out there. You do the mathematics, and we do have a grand total of 51 drivers out on a circuit that's just over 3 miles in length. Well, doing it approximately, that's not even 0.06 miles per car out there, so it really will feel as though it's a traffic jam. It couldn't have been a traffic jam on the motorway, I would say. But if you look back to Steve Rubino, well, current championship leader in club, only 42nd at the moment, and that is 8th in class, Darryl.
Yeah, it's not ideal for Steve for the time being, but again, I mean this with no disrespect to him at all. I mean it with great respect. He's had such a good start to the season. He really did struggle last season to pick up points. I think he only got points in the mid-30s overall for the season. He's already got over 150 this season. Really marked improvement, and it would be great to keep this going, but I wonder if he's even surprised himself with a little bit of the pace that he's shown so far this season. So we'll have to see if he can pick it up. I have faith that he can, but be feeling a little bit more used to the position that he's finding himself in. But that doesn't change the fact that he's going to be a favourite to move up the order in the final 17 minutes of this session. It won't be this time by, of course he went very wide and he's let a few cars through, but I'm sure he'll line one up again. I mean, he's got at least 2 seconds that he could be finding, and I'm sure he'll find, he definitely can find at least half of that second to move him up, which could potentially be into the mid-20s, really, which would be a great position to be in.
Oh, indeed. And keep in mind, we're talking about faith and not losing faith in Steve Rubino, and he's got to make sure he doesn't lose faith in himself. He had a nightmare end to Spa-Francorchamps, battling with Rob McCoy the way to the final lap for second place. He was in control of it and had a spin, as we understand it, at the very last corner on the final lap, and in the end spoiled his opportunity to be second place to Miller. But still, that's the way it goes, and there's always a drop score to be considered over the first 9 rounds of the championship. But whilst right now Rubino might be trying to push forward a little bit, Daniel Paul, well, he comes into this round looking good in qualifying at least. The only problem that he's got is he's been a little bit naughty over the first 2 rounds, particularly last time out, because he now has 2 drive-through penalties to serve for this round. And well, because it's a sprint race round, he's going to have to serve his first penalty in race number 1. He's going to have to serve his second drive-through in race number 2. I mean, I've not quite heard of that before, Dara. It's going to be a bit one of those situations whereby no matter what he does today, he's going to be hit either way.
Yeah, he is, and it's going to be a difficult one for him to work his way through, but I think that's just what he's got to focus on, to be honest with you. Try and qualify well, put yourself further up the order, give yourself some track positions. That time loss isn't so great in the pit lane, but difficult, isn't it? Never easy to do, never easy to manage. He'll just have to work it out and fight his way back through the order. We know that there will be a little bit of carnage, a little bit of chaos, and because of the fact this is the Master split, you do not get a fast repair here. You do in the Superstar split, but you don't over here in Masters. And it means that if it goes wrong, it's really going to go wrong. You can't really bail out with a fast repair after towing back to the pit lane. So, definite chance to move up the order again after, particularly in race 1, with a little bit of chaos around him.
Oh, indeed. And like you say, with there being no fast repair, you really do have to be careful. But that's what Masters is all about, making the racing just that little bit more what is hardcore out there. And therefore, every little touch, every little instant can potentially have massive consequences. Whereas Superstars, it can have consequences, but you always do have the backup plan, which is that fast repair should you need it. But here's Brian Beardsworth making his way around. And we do owe Brian a little bit of an apology, because for the first 2 rounds, you may have noticed that we had 2 Barry Wenmans racing as listed. However, one of them was this man in his McLaren, and we can promise you his name is not Barry Wenman. And as he makes his way out through today, he'll be glad to have been released from the naming convention. Now he's in at 43rd. But as he brings his McLaren on around, well, we do still have some improvements out there. And, well, Hayden Miller, who was 2 tenths faster, he's now only half a tenth faster than Sam Darbyshire. But it's the same 2 names at the very top. But, of course, that's one of the interesting things about the Pro Class so far, Darren. We've yet to have a repeat winner. And, therefore, in fact, I don't think we've even had a repeat podium finisher. We've had 6 different drivers finish on the podium so far this season. But Miller and Darbyshire today want to try and prove that they can be repeat podium finishers. They're doing good at it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really interesting season up to this point, and it felt open so far. 2 30-minute races is just going to make it feel more that way, I think, as we work our way through this evening's worth of racing. But yeah, to qualify near the front is going to be their main goal, and that gap is closing, isn't it? Half a tenth, as you said, between the top 2. But as it stands, it is a Vulkan 1, 2, 3, and 6 with a Glass Tech 4 and 5. Those 2 teams really have a duopoly at the moment towards the top of the order in the fastest of our 3 classes, and that continues tonight.
Indeed, and well, we're talking a little bit about our club provisional pole sitter earlier on, Andrew Larkman. He has made his way out onto circuit, so the cameras will be able to see his car now. And we're still 10th fastest in the overall standings, leader of club by the best part of 10 places over Miller. And right now, in terms of the gap between the 2 of them, well, it is still quite an outstanding, almost, well, in fact, I want to say it's almost 5 tenths. I was going to say it's almost 4 tenths, but when I do my mental mathematics, it works out in the end. And Larkman right now definitely seeing if he can mix things up. Some circuits, individual drives will be better at compared to others, so therefore there's always a bit of give to take here. But on the most part, we'll see these club drivers come back together. There'll always be some surprising performances out there. Speaking of some surprises further down the order, not great surprises, Max Wheeler right now all the way down in 36th place here, the 333 driver. Things are not quite looking good for him at the moment, Darragh.
No, not looking too comfortable for Max. Let's see if he can jump up the order soon with a better lap time, but this is one. This time, by indeed it isn't. 48.2, or 47.2 I should say. In the end, is about 8 tenths off of what he can do, and he has done so far in this session. I mean, it's tight, isn't it? And it's 3 tenths to 4 tenths even for him. We're getting up to the top 23, and that's a big old jump in this grid. So it's not a big margin between a lot of these cars, and it is a real mess of classes. All 3 of them battling it in there. You can see the likes of Atherton, Wesley Van Run from the fast class, Danny Weir and Paul from the slowest, and then you've got loads of vintage drivers in there as well. It is a bit of a chaos fest at the moment in that mid-pack.
Oh, indeed. It's almost as if somebody decided to take a Rubik's Cube and just simply completely scramble it after you've just finished it. But before we go any further into talking about drives, we should say hello in the YouTube chat there to a few of you, including Lehas729, who says, is there no Superstar stream today? No, unfortunately, no live Superstar stream. We'll be doing that post-round as of next week, so it will be as if it were live. So don't you worry about that. We will bring you coverage of round number 3 and the Superstars visit to Mugello. It just won't be live from circuit side today. We also do say hello there to user D5W5J, who says, but Darrow is back, so I'm happy. And indeed, I think, Darrow, you've been missed by our fair gentleman or lady there in the YouTube chat. And we also do say hello to Matt Watkins there, who is saying whether Sam, I believe that might be in reference there to none other than Samuel Clark, wondering whether he's going to have a race without an incident today. Well, hopefully we get to see that. We'd love to see the Glass Tech racing machine that survived madness. In fact, Vulkan fastest with Glass Tech, but he's got some work to do. But as they all coming around, well, I think we need to do an on-board lap with one of our drivers as they make their way around to get an idea of what Mugello's like when you go in full attack. And, well, here comes Chris Jennings making his way on down and around out the final sweeper. Without further ado, we make our way on board for this flying lap. It's making its way down towards turn 1, full throttle all the way down the extended straight here. A very long straight, not quite the length of Fuji straight, which will be next time out, but almost heading towards the best part of a kilometre and getting ready to go onto the brakes. Looking to his left-hand side and on to the end as he goes, coming all the way down the gearbox here, rolling his way nice and tight on the apex curb, and now heading up towards what will be turns 2 and 3. Coming in towards that left-hander then, and this is where we get the sweeping segment as he goes from left to right, avoiding the sausage curbs on the apex curves, not to make himself lose traction, and now getting ready for turns 4 and 5. Over to the right he goes, looks to his right-hand side for his brake mark. It'll be the 50-metre board, and then it's left into right once again, but a bit more of an open straight here between the two apexes, so a bit easier to connect them together. It's going to be downhill into the final chicane sequence that opens up the lap, right into left here, and as he gradually feeds the throttle in, he'll go full throttle as quickly as he can before getting towards Arrabbiata 1. The fast right-hander goes all the way out the hills. We do see Brian Beardsworth there taking a trip off the road, and Adam Atherton with it. As he heads to Arrabbiata 2 now on the blind rise, now getting ready for the back end of lap. And as we can see, onto the brakes here, about 150 metres from corner apex, right into left he goes. Well, just taking it nice and easy here. You don't want to get on the throttle too early, or you'll be taking the sandcastles with you and going in towards turn number 12. Downhill braking zone, and here it's all about patience. Just wait for it, wait, feed the throttle in little by little, but don't go full throttle until you feel that nose bite, and it'll be in towards the chicane he goes. Left into right here for turns 13 and 14, flat out all the way and out into the final corner for Jennings. And well, this lap so far, he hasn't quite improved on the first 2 sectors, but you never know what he might be able to do with a magical final sector, coming all the way down through Gout Bend to complete the lap and do it all over again. And what's going to be for Jennings this time? Well, it's not been looking too strong. You never know as he heads towards the line. And for Jennings, either way, it's been a smooth lap, and we appreciate the onboard there. But we can definitely see Darrett, a very technical lap at that, and one whereby he's had to make sure that he's right on the limit. I think that's the problem for a lot of drivers as well. Instant points, they're going to be critical today, and the track limits around here, they are no joke.
No, they're not, and I think the difficult thing about this circuit really is how technical that it is. It's difficult to really be able to craft those overtakes and make them work, because it is so flowing that if you're offline, the track suddenly becomes a lot clunkier than it really was designed to be. So making overtakes almost deceptively hard here at Mugello really is a track for time trial rather than racing, I find, in terms of how nice it is to drive. You don't really want to be going side by side, particularly through those sweepers at the back end of the circuit, or really through that final sector as well. So yeah, tricky. Moves are going to be difficult to come by, but it's going to be those drivers that are braver on the brakes, that are more confident in the car underneath them. They're going to succeed, I think, tonight.
Oh, indeed. And, well, I can see and say hello there to Elwood Blues in the YouTube chat. Good evening to you, good sir. And Mac Watkins clarifying he's referring to Sam Darbyshire. So hopefully Sam having a better day today. And, well, we can definitely see that the Darrow fan club being already engaged by one member at least. I think you're going to be building quite the population by the end of today's broadcast, Darrow.
I wouldn't bet on it. Yeah, I don't know. You don't have to get fan mail in this blind work, do you, Paul? But thank you, whoever that is. I appreciate you greatly. But yeah, I don't like listening to myself back, but it's nice that somebody does.
Oh, goodness me. No, we don't get too much fan mail, to be fair. They normally just simply put us in the commentary booth, then lock the door, throw the key away, and every so often feed us scraps underneath the door if needed. But as
we're lucky.
Oh, you're lucky. Well, they don't feed you scraps then.
No, well, I mean, I'm glad you're here because Chaz starved me for the evening, so I'm glad you're here. I'm at least going to get something. But Yeah, it can be lonely up here, just looking, from our advantageous position on the track.
Oh, 100%. Well, it's good that we've got each other for company. And, well, as we do, say hello there to JT Blips as well, who's cheering on Lewis Kenyon, hoping that Lewis can, in his own words, sort it out. So find some lap time. That's not the way you find lap time there for John Treen, as he goes very sideways on the exit of turn number 11. And, well, thankfully, everyone able to react there in time. Can expect a bit of that today, particularly at the start of the race, should anybody get it wrong with regards to cold tyres and cold brakes. And also a lot more fuel in the cars at that point, so they become a little bit more aggressive with those weight transfers. But as we do look back down the field, is anybody improving at the moment? Well, speaking of Barry Wendman from earlier on, here he is, the Barry Wendman, not the fake one, the real one. So we find him as he makes his way around. And, well, the McLaren driver getting it wrong there at Galp Corner. And, well, I was about to give him a slight bit of praise. I don't know if you can get what would be premonition of commentator's curse, Dara. I know we do get it in terms of when it happens, but I was about to praise him and then suddenly he slides loose. Have I got precognitive abilities? Is this Minority Report in motorsport?
I don't know, it could just be Barry. It's not an easy corner as well, is it? At that final corner, it can be easy to kick that rear end around a little bit more and find it just drifting away from you in a way that it isn't really easy, and he's not going to be able to use this coming up time either. Thing to note as well, in terms of the timing, those of you who will watch along most weeks, particularly for the hour-long race event, will know that when it is an hour-long race that we have, you can finish the lap time you're on when the timer hits 0. Here tonight, because of the heat racing system, and we're running 2 races, the session will end when the timer hits 0. So realistically, if you've not started the lap with 1 minute and 45 to go, you won't be setting another lap time. That'll be you done for the session. So that's something to keep an eye out for in the last few minutes.
That's a really good point. I appreciate you bringing that up. And we've had quite a few episodes in the past. I do remember in season 11 that this man, if my memory serves me correctly, Sarah Ploeg, he forgot that we did have the heat format. I think it was at Daytona, and after he qualified so well to start the race, he actually had to start the race in the back of the grid because he missed the gridding procedure because he thought he had 5 minutes in order to be able to go take a quick comfort break, and that's when he had to go on an absolute rampant charge in a season where, after that, it really all clicked together as he does park up there. And I think he feels as though he's done the best he can. He can't go any quicker than that. But for Ploeg, it definitely was a day at Daytona whereby the heat race format caught him out. And it does catch drivers out every so often, and we've always got to be aware. But that also acts a little bit of proof if you read the rules or not. Because if you do get caught out by it, normally the admins there will say, well, did you read the rules before you went racing? And everyone normally guiltily goes, I just thought it was always the same. I didn't realise that the rules had changed slightly. No, the rules have always been there. But as we come towards the end of this session now, well, in terms of any improvements out there, Danny Ware has been able to find his way up into 3rd right now in the club class, moving away from some of his peers. This club class, I do wonder, Dara, in terms of the inverted grid, is it the top 15? Remind me.
I believe so, but having you said that now, I'm not sure if it's changed for this season. I'm going to have a really quick look into the rulebook, mainly because I forgot to do it earlier, and I should have done it earlier. But sometimes these things elude me when coming into races like this. At one point it was 18. I believe it went to 15, and I am looking, and I'm not entirely sure. Let's have a look. It will be the reverse top 20. There you go. So it was a little bit further. Reverse top 20 from race 1. Will set the grid for race 2. So that 20th position is going to be really, really important, particularly if you're an interclass driver, particularly if you're a club class driver. That 20th position could be crucial. And if you're like Daniel Meller, the difference between 21st and 20th are going to be huge in your chances for points tonight.
Indeed, and well, a huge difference there. And right now, it is the smallest of differences between him and Lewis Hammond, who right now is sat there in 20th place, only 2 thousandths quicker. And I almost accidentally there said Lewis Hamilton. I think my brain went one way in terms of Richard Hammond, and the other part of my brain went for Lewis Hamilton. It came together, and in the end, couldn't figure out it's Lewis Hammond in the middle. But I do apologise, Lewis, for that. We won't make that mistake for many more times in this broadcast. But as Mello makes his way around, he's just hoping for a little bit more time. But we're now into the crunch point, because if drivers are not on a lap, they'll need to start one very soon, as otherwise they will not be finishing the lap. And that's the important part. There is no overtime in this qualifying session. Stuart Rice right now just in front there in the lovely liveried BMW M4 Evo machine. He's currently in 46th place, 11th in club at the moment, but we do know that he is one of those drivers who normally goes a bit quicker once we do get racing versus qualifying. Not everybody's a one-lap pace driver, although with sprint races today, one-lap pace is definitely going to be tested more, because we won't be expecting any pit stops in either of the races unless somebody's picked up a drive-through or some damage to the car. A lot of our drivers are now into pit lane, and this is Rice just going towards the end now. Also just up the road from him is Pete Piver there in the LS Racing Ferrari, that 296. Well, it's on home soil. This circuit owned, of course, by Scuderia Ferrari. Right now, he'll be hoping that perhaps he can just sneak his way a little bit further up the order and make the Devosi proud. The prancing horse currently all the way down in 48th, not where it wants to be. We do have a couple of Ferraris out there. The highest placed one is your pro driver in 7th overall of Ignace Vincezewskis. That's gone very wrong for Pete Piver, so he's not going any further. And well, it's been a difficult start today for the Ferrari drivers. He toes the pit lane, but a minute to go, Dara, and now all the drivers on the line. They've either got to get it done, or that's it. They're not going any further.
Yep, last minute to see times come in now. I'm not too sure how many more will be able to come across the line. John Treen will be able to here in the 2:33. Very good lap time so far of a 45.3, and putting in P4 in that interclass for the time being. Wouldn't mind another couple of spots, I'm sure. Let's see if he can improve towards the end. Wesley Van Ren, another driver who's looking to improve right at the end of this session. Green through the middle sector, so he might be able to jump up from 33rd position, which is a difficult place for him to be. Nick Stubber has improved to P13 right at the end. 20 seconds to go. It really has to be now. You have to be exiting the final corner to be able to set the lap time. Wesley, can he improve? Can he jump up that order? I don't think he can, judging by how far away that timing has got. Oh, we can improve because he was just that slow already. 46.1, but from 29th overall, and just behind his Atherton. Oh, as I was going to say behind Atherton, but the last lap time came in from Adam Atherton, and he went up to 22nd. Great improvement.
Oh, a huge improvement right at the end. I mean, they say do it at the death of the session. He did exactly that, did Adam Atherton. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our drivers make the way onto the grid. And as they do so, well, it does seem as though here, how are we going straight to the grid or are we not? I think we are actually into a practice session now. So, well, I do wonder what's going on here, because I thought we were going straight into what would be a sprint race. Perhaps the admins have changed something at the last moment, or perhaps there's been a bit of miscommunication, but we do have 5 minutes of warm-up by the looks of things, so we get a bit of a breather. Everyone gets a bit of a breather, including our drivers, before we go racing for the first time today.
And if 45 minutes qualifying wasn't enough, you've got another 5 minutes of warm-up to get yourself ready for tonight. I don't think many drivers are going to come out, to be honest with you. Maybe they will, but there's not loads that are flying onto the circuit at the moment. I think they'll probably take their time, knowing that it's going to be quite a frantic 30 minutes, but nice to get a bit of warm-up in.
Oh, indeed, a little bit of warm-up there. Matthias Smolny makes one out for Type 2 powered by Mords, the lovely black, white and red liveried Mercedes head on out. And we're not having the most exceptional qualifying sessions, but to be fair, hoping he can deliver the goods in the race. As we do say hello to Mr. Matt Stace, who says, to misquote Doc Brown, rules, where we're going, we don't need rules. And indeed, that being the wonderful quote from Back to the Future with regards to going roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. And right now, well, I can tell you one thing, they'll definitely need some roads here if our drivers want to come away victorious. But, of course, 30-minute race is just around the corner, and what our drivers will be doing at this point, those out on circuit, they'll just be getting a feel for the setup of the car. Now they've probably put the race setup in and put a bit more fuel in the car. Of course, they won't be running maximum fuel, given the fact it's 30-minute races rather than your traditional 1 hour, and also it could mean that they've got slightly more aggressive setups on normally, because you do go for a longer race, you normally want a setup that's a little bit more stable. You want a car that is much more comfortable over the entire distance, compared to in a sprint race, where a shorter race, you can probably get away with a car that's abusing its tyres just that little bit more. But as we do see Max Wheeler for a three-wheeler racing with a UKSR coming on out there. And I must admit, Darren, I'm a little bit disappointed in Max, because I know he's a massive Audi fan, but he's gone to the Mercedes this season. But the fact he hasn't got the 4 rings of Audi on it just to simply play with us a little bit. I mean, talk about a man who loves one manufacturer. I think right now, if he could, he would have every car in this grid be an Audi. But the Audi R8, not that popular a car anymore.
Not at all. It really has died away. I mean, look down that timing tower on the left-hand side. Not a single Audi in sight. Just the one Aston. Just the 2 McLarens. Just the 1 Ferrari. You know, a handful of Mustangs. They've come back a bit, but it is really still Porsche and Merc, isn't it? Dominating the choices of the drivers, and it has been that way for a few seasons now, isn't it?
Oh, indeed. And, well, with regards to the situations, Max Wheeler there goes two-wheeling from it. He does his best impression of a motorcycle, but gets it wrong. And, well, we have just had confirmation, and a number of you have mentioned it in the YouTube chat as well, and a good thank you to all of them saying that for some reason we do have a 1 hour race in the car. So I think there has been a bit of a glitch with the iRacing lobby system. We are doing a full feature race.
Okay, well, that changes things, doesn't it? Yeah, that's a bit weird. I'm not too sure. Session B. Oh, okay. Session was set up wrong. Okay, that's fine. I guess that's why we have the warm-up session now then, and probably why a few more drivers are coming out of the pit lane. But yeah, changes things. Means we just have the 1 hour to go racing. No reverse grids. If you get it wrong at the start, there's no real hope for recovery, is there?
No, it is going to be interesting. Also, given the practice that drivers will put in, now, most of these drivers, to be fair, they will be comfortable with a 60-minute race distance in typical racing fashion. But if you've been practicing all week for 2 30-minute races, you've been practicing for that length, you've been practicing with a setup that's probably got less fuel in the car, so suddenly, I mean, it's going to be a small adaptation, but it could still throw up a few interesting moments. You never know. You may have some drivers here right now who suddenly have to go back to the drawing board and think to themselves, all right, now I've actually got to get the car into a zone whereby it's going to feel comfortable over the hour, not just 30 minutes. There will be most likely a pit stop now as compensation for that. I can't imagine anyone's going to try and no-stop it, given the amount of fuel in these cars that they're allowed to carry, that 65% fuel tank, but it could just throw a few drivers off balance there. And, well, a good thank you there to a good number of you in the YouTube chat for spotting that. As I do say hello to F1 and Will, I do believe that might be William Humphrey there, also to DXT Hobo Alive, and, well, not quite sure if I remember who that is out the Dexterous Motorsports crew. You have to let me know. And also there, well, we do say hello to a few of you we said hello to earlier on, but we also say hello to the Fault with 20 seconds to go. Well, there's no more time for respite. It's going to be time very shortly to be going green flag racing, and, well, who exactly is going to be pulling off some magic? Have you got any particular favourites you're expecting to do well here, Darryl, or should we just wait, watch and listen and see how they get on lap 1?
I think you really have to watch Mugello, just watch lap 1, because it can be so tricky. Drivers can just go wide and lose, a heap of positions. I mean, you're going to be looking at Darbyshire and Hayden Miller, of course, at the start to really be the ones to pull in front, but there's no guarantee they can stay there. And all the way through the field, it's going to be a very busy run towards turn 1.
Oh, indeed, it's going to get busy, but with the circuit going quiet for a brief moment, well, of course, ladies and gentlemen, that can mean only one thing. Masters Split, round number 3 of the Thursday GT3 Championship Season 12, brought to you on iRacing by SimRacing International, is about to get underway, and as it does so, this is how they'll line up. Hayden Miller takes pole position overall and in pro for Vulkan Motorsport Gold, joined on the front row of the grid by his teammate of Sam Darbyshire. Behind them on row number 2, it's going to be Marius Hibmer for Class Tech Racing the Dane, in the company of Vulkan Motorsports' Ser Pluig, and in the end, well, it was not a 1-2-3 because Marius was able to squeeze his way in by only the best part of 200ths. Behind the Dutchman of Plug, it is going to be then William Humphrey for Class Tech Racing, the normal individual starting towards the very front of the field and looking to be on the scramble because Lewis Kenyon will be right there with him starting 6th for Vulkan Motorsports. He was half a second off a pole, and then it was only a further 300ths to Ignas Vincentevskis, and the Lithuanian driver there for Vulkan Motorsports leading the run to the end of the pro field, because then we do have a interpole sitter, and that will be in the form of Menno Bloem for SimRacing Team Lowlands, who, by the sounds of things, is starting from the pit lane, because I'm getting information here to say he has not made it to the grid. So that's a surprise there. And Sonny, he's got it all to do from the back of the field. Reece Saunders for Altitude 3M Esports starts in 9th place, either way, but will be promoted. Chris Jennings will now be promoted to Interpole sitter, but he was going to start 2nd on the grid for Axis Sports with SimCoach. Behind them on row at number 6, it's going to be Matt Hoyland for Glass Tech Racing, and also Andrew Lartman for Axis Sports with SimCoach, and the Scotsman there takes club pole position by a staggering margin in terms of number of places, but look how tight it is between each and every driver here. We're talking hundreds and thousands, and not the sweets that you used to get from the store, because Nick Staff starts in 13th for Glass Tech Racing ahead of LS Racing's Adam Baker. Then it's going to be John Treen for Axis Sport with SimWorks starting 15th ahead of none other than John Breitenbach, the South African driver for Barbecue Bread Racing. Well, he's looking to cook up a storm today, but he's got some work to do, as he's going to be in the company of David Hutchison, who starts 17th. From the Axis Sport with SimCoach drive, it's then Danny Phillips, DXT Motorsports Thunder, ahead of Simon Clifton there for Axis Sport with SimWorks, and Lewis Hammond for Darkwing Racing, completing your top 20. Outside the top 20, second in the club class, it's going to be Daniel Miller for GPX SimSport Xenon, ahead of Adam Atherton for Lumen Motorsport, and then it will be DXT Motorsport Cyan's James Howarth starting 23rd, ahead of Robin Aston for GPX SimSport Vertex. Row 13, it's going to be Jan Osberg for Vulkan Fasters by Glass Tech Racing, ahead of Hussein Sarakadesta for GPX SimSport Vertex, and then we will have Mateus Smolny for Type 2 Racing powered by Mords, ahead of Lorenz Dedapper. The LS Racing Trial then be followed up by Wesley Van Rens for 9 Pegasus Panthera and Danny Ware for DXT Motorsport Siam. That's your top 30. Outside the top 30, 31st, it's going to be Samuel Clark for Vulkan Fasters by Glass Tech, ahead of Marcel Breitenbach for Barbecue Bread Racing. Then Daniel Paul starts in 33rd, and with 2 drive-through penalties to serve today, he's going to spend a lot of time in the pit lane either way. I wonder how that's going to work out in practice. From him, it'll then be John Ludbrook for GPX SimSport Onyx, ahead of Michael Rhodes with an impressive qualifying performance for Darkwing Racing. And then we do have Barry Wenman, 36th there for DXT at Motorsport Siam. Chad Henson for Turbo Rennsport, having a difficult qualifying session in the 300, starts 37th, joined on the 19th row of the grid by fellow pro driver of Max Wheeler for Freewheeler Racing with UK Sim Racing. And it is going to be Owen Stewart starting 39th for Vulkan Fasters by Glass Tech, ahead of Mark De Vries for Sim Racing Team Lowlands. It's definitely been a lowly qualifying points for him, but he'll try and move forward, as will Rob Mackay for DXT Motorsports Thunder, and James Bostock, who joins him on the 21st row in 42nd place for GPX SimSport Onyx. Steve Rubino, championship leader in the club class, starts 43rd today. The Hobo Racing driver's got a lot of progress to try and make quickly. He's in the company of Brian Beardsworth on that 22nd row for GPX SimSport Xenon. And then we do have Tiago Reza starting 45th for 9 Pegasus Panthera, ahead of Stuart Rice. The Blue Sky Esports Trial will give way then to Andrew Montine, 47th for Axis SimSport with SimCoach. Pete Piver starts 48th, the Brazilian driver for LS Racing. And your top 50 is completed by Andy Chell for Quatermass Motorsport and Rachel Hugh, who starts 50th there for Blue Sky Esports. Outside the top 50, starting last, it's going to be Jan Nagy for Vulkan Fasters by Glass Tech. But we've had Menno Blum and Mark De Vries opt to start from the pit lane. And well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost ready to go. But that is the grid. Dara, it's going to be 60 minutes of racing action, an unexpected 60 minutes, but an exciting 60 minutes ahead.
Yeah, big old grid as well. It took almost the full formation to go through it. For credit on you, Paul, for getting through all 51 drivers there. But you can see the domination of the front. Vulkan have that front row locked out. They have more drivers in support down there on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side as well. They're all just going to try and get themselves ready for that run towards turn 1. Hopefully we don't see the scenes that we saw in Formula 1 back in 2020. We all get a nice clean start. But there's all the 50 cars on the circuit. So much machinery that is going to be pounding around this Italian classic in just a minute. An hour on the clock. You cannot ruin it in the first lap, otherwise you're really going to be in a world of pain in this master split.
Oh, indeed, and everyone will be looking to be on their best behaviour and get it right. But as the pace car gets ready to pull into the pit lane, it does so very quickly. The Hayden Miller now will take us to the green flag line, and it will be for 60 minutes of racing that we do go. But we wait patiently for him to floor it. And it's lights out and away we go for round number 3 of the championship here. An unexpected 1 hour race, but still we very much look forward to it as they pull the way down. Hayden Miller gets a good start, but Maris Hibber immediately on the attack here. Tucks in very close behind Miller, follows him all the way to the inside into that braking zone. 3 wide behind as they all come on around, and Sam Darbyshire and William Humphrey all going in, but Darbyshire being elbowed out slightly there as the field makes it safely up the hill. Well, Chris Jennings there looking to go on the attack versus Nick Stubb, but Stubbs had a brilliant start there into the interlead, with Jennings losing the lead after inheriting it from Menno Blom. But all the drivers do look to be safe on through the open few corners. Oh, goodness me, I think something's gone wrong just up the road. Oh, what on earth's happened there? Well, there's a lot of gravel being kicked up there, and well, it seems though Sam Darbyshire has been caught up, so has Vince Zevskis. But other than that, everyone is still going. And well, I can tell you one thing, Dara, it's been a very crowded start, but credit to everyone where it's due. We'll get a replay of what happened, but they're all safely on through for the most part.
Yeah, Hibmer and Humphrey up to 2nd and 3rd. Very good for Glass Tech Racing. Kenyon up to 4th as well, but a little ways off that top 3. You can see them getting away in the very early stages. Sam Darbyshire with a bit of an issue. Ignace as well. Had been plagued with lap 1 instances for a very long time, and unfortunate again to come unstuck. Sam a little bit off the back, but he's 2 positions ahead of the leader in the club class, which is of course Andrew Larkman, trying to fight with some of the fastest drivers in the fastest class. He's doing a great job so far. He's going to be having to let a few of these cars through, I think, at some point for the time being. He's just going to manage where he is.
I would agree, and that's the thing for Andrew Larkman right now. The problem he'll have, he's got the devil on one shoulder saying to him, fight everybody around you because you are a racer. The other part of him The angel on his shoulder is going to be saying, let everyone go, because what's the value in fighting drivers in another class? You don't get any extra points. Well, he's let most drivers go, but now the problem he has is that he's dropped all the way down to 15th. Daniel Mellor, meanwhile, who started in 21st place overall, the second place club runner, well, he's caught up as we've got a driver into the gravel there. I believe that's the Porsche of Lewis Hammond that's taken a trip out wide at Gout Bend, so not quite exactly sure how he's ended up there, whether he was pushed or whether he's made a mistake of his own. It's all gone wrong as Daniel pulled into the pit lane, so he's going to serve the first of his drive-through penalties, immediately get it out the way. But meanwhile, as they all come over the rise, here's a battle of Danny Weir versus Wesley Van Rens. Van Rens, well, he's already up from 29th to 24th, and that's a great place made. Behind Marcel Grayson and John Ludbrook side by side as they head up the rise. That's a 13th in the interclass. A change already made between those two. So we do show you the club standings there, or the class standings, I should say. The club falling off the board a little bit. We'll get that adjusted very shortly. Oh, there's been another bit of a moment, and that's Scott going very sideways in front, and that looks to be Lawrence De Dapper going the wrong way, Dara.
It's not where he needs to be in the LS racing car. I mean, that's goes without saying, isn't it, really? But he's going to have to try and get it back onto the circuit without impeding anybody else. Very tricky place to do that, and you can see how many cars are still coming through, but he will get it back onto the racing circuit. Disappointing for him there, but just how it goes in the end. Simon Clifton trying to fight through with Marcel Brayton back. Oh, there's contact, and there's going to be more contact, but I think Simon's going to drift out wide. It's going to avoid a big knock-on effect, and Marcel, I think, was just in front of all of that, getting away.
Oh, indeed, a little bit of an elbows out moment there between drivers, and we'll get a look back at some of those big moments shortly, but more fighting to come here, and Samuel Clark, Janosberg and John Ludbrook all together now, and the two are Vulkan fastest by Class Tech cars, those two Mercedes trying to keep the GPX Sim Sport car behind. Down through turn number 12 here. Well, it's guttural power for the Mercedes versus cornering capability of that Porsche. My goodness, Ludbrook here, the speed he's taken out of these sweeping bends, but the problem is all the speed he carries out the corner, he hasn't got the acceleration to the next one to be able to match that Mercedes, so he's really got to get some really good corner exits if he wants to make this work. But oh, that's gone wrong in front, and that is Danny Weir, and also I believe that's the Mercedes there of Samuel Clark being caught up. Some more chaos, and well, a bumper goes flying off there, nobody picks it up, hopefully, but the field will come through now. I mean, at the moment, it does seem as though they're getting closer and closer, and anything could happen, and it is in motorsport, and it is happening right on our screens.
Yeah, it's difficult with this track when you get close. You can't really work with too much around you, especially when the contact can be minimal and the outcome can be devastating. It is so tricky to race side by side, particularly in these very congested packs, as we see through the opening sector. Max Wheeler just going to pick his way through behind Chris Henson. But there's so much going on the circuit in the early stages. Gravel going everywhere, of course, still been kicked up from the incident that put it all over on lap 1 wide. Oh my goodness me, then there's contact behind. It's Chad Henson. It's just all going from bad to good for a couple of the guys. They're just going to get their eye, but they're not quite adjusting in the way that they'd want to. James Bostock coming up through the order as well, as he now fights with Andy Chell. That's tricky through Arabiata too. But yeah, really dramatic opening stages.
Oh, indeed, quite a bit of drama as we do get the onboard of Andy Chell, who wants to go fighting with Bostock and trying to get a switch back there to the inside of Arabiata, but it didn't quite work out. Lost that momentum going up the hill, but definitely wanted to fight. But this club class right now definitely getting very intense. They make the one around. Chell here, and a little bit deep at the moment, but the Great Mass Motorsport driver, knowing that Bostock is going to have to find his way past Stuart Rice and Michael Rhodes. So it's not as though he's lost the chance. We just have this burgeoning pack of club drivers at the moment, although they have lost the top 4, but the fight for 5th in club is absolutely on edge, because we do have there from what is 5th all the way down to 13th place a grand total of only 5 seconds covering all those club drivers, so it could all change at any moment. But as we do leave them for a brief moment, we look all the way back up to the front. We get some new fastest laps come in, and well, here are your leaders in pro and overall. And what we can see right now is that Hayden Miller, Maris Hibner and William Humphrey all together. But Hayden Miller here, I suspect, is going to be wondering to himself, Darragh, where's my reinforcements? Because he's absolutely been swarmed here by Glass Tech cars, when normally it's been Vulkan Motorsports together.
Yeah, they've been trying to get at the front generally in races, and Glass Tech have been able to come back at them during the hour-long events, but different now. Still in the lead is the Vulkan car, but Glass Tech are there and organised, and they're ready to pounce, and Hibner and Humphrey are, not giving Miller too much time to breathe. There's a big gap back to Lewis Kenyon now for a couple of seconds too, so yeah, I think really good position to find yourself in if you're Glass Tech right now, and I think Mr. Joseph Glass, wherever he is, I believe out there in Asia, will be looking on very fondly to this, because he is seeing his team perform really well once again, and building on the performances they've had so far this season.
Oh, 100%. The only thing they will need to be careful of is those potential track limits, as William Humphrey does pick up a slowdown. That's a track limits coming on through the turn 11-12 chicane sequence, so therefore he will have to burn a little bit of time, he'll have to pull speed, although there are tactical ways to minimise the amount of time you lose, but that's where you see a yellow flag against his name. If he doesn't do it in a certain amount of time, it will be upgraded with a trip to the pit lane instead, and that's the one thing you do not want to do, because the pit limiter will be on, and that will be a very long time lost by comparison. So Miller and Hibner now start to pull away. Humphrey's been brought back to Kenyon and Hoyland, but meanwhile Nick Starr still leading in the interclass, and Chris Jennings following him. So the Glass Tech Racing driver, he's found a way and passed. Now can he hold on to that interlead all the way to at least the pit stops? Because Jennings, well, in a Ford Mustang that's definitely as quick as the Mercedes on the straight, it's a bit heavier by comparison to the braking zones, and also one of the weaknesses of this Mustang is it absolutely loves drinking fuel. As it comes on through turns 2 and 3, standing Jennings right now will know that he's got to do a lot of fuel saving here to match that Mercedes strategically. He may be able to do. As for the lead of the club class, well, here's Andrew Lartman, and right now he's still holding a bit of a comfortable gap over Daniel Miller. You'll see Miller in the rear of the picture there, taking a bit of gravel as he chases after Adam Atherton. But Andrew Lartman right now running 15th overall and has got a bit of space. So the battling is playing out. It seems as though the closest class at the moment, already it's very close towards the back, we could say, Darren. Here's a good number of our club drivers, Chell ahead of Mackay and Rubino, and then you've got Menno Blown trying to recover through the field, plus Andrew Montine and Mark De Vries. I mean, this is going to get a bit awkward, surely. The club drivers will be looking at each other, thinking, we want to fight each other, as Andy Chell hits the sausage curve.
Yeah, it's really tricky. You know, with different classes almost getting themselves involved in your own battles here, but it's what they're going to have to deal with and work around as we work our way through. Still is opening quarter of the race, still very congested, isn't it, down on the circuit, but Menno's going to be trying to probably get through Steve Rubino to give himself more comfort in the position that he finds himself in. Steve Rubino's going to be looking to push forward, of course, as he will fancy himself for a higher finish than he's currently sat in. So, yeah, tricky, difficult position to be in if you're Menno Bloom right now, but, you know, you've got cars in front, you've got cars behind. If you don't start moving forwards, you're going to start moving backwards, and that's the risk he's having to deal with.
Oh, 100%. And well, the thing about Menno, I mean, one part of him will be absolutely screaming in rage at the fact that he missed out on the pole position after he'd taken it, but missed the grid, so he's had to come all the way through the back of the field. But as well, he has to draw on the fact he is one of those drivers who can pull off some absolutely incredible results. You know, I do remember a season or so ago in the wet where he surprised everybody with a miraculous performance. But as we do see Lawrence Dapper making his way up and past Pete Piver, well, that's to be expected. The two Ellis Racing drivers swapping the places. They're in two different classes and want to mutually work together. Andrea Montine, meanwhile, well, he's got a bit of pressure, but all the pressure is on Andy Chill at the front of this camera shot. As he comes down towards turn number 1, he's going to have Rob Mackay looking around the outside of him. He's going to have Steve Rubino to try and do so, and Menno Blown wants to try and take a piece on the inside. And can Mackay get that move done? That would be for 9th. No, it's not. They're all going to go deep, and well, suddenly Andy Chill will take that place back. And right now, the Quackmass Motorsport driver doing a brilliant job of just acting as a little bit of a cork in the proverbial bottle here, and keeping everyone behind. As now Menno Blown has found his way past Steve Rubino, so he's up one place overall, not in class. And his fight is definitely building up to something fierce. And well, still got a long way to go. But I do wonder, Dara, and with regards to strategy, I mean, we know that with a 65% fuel tank, the pit window is a little bit narrower than previous seasons, but would you think any of these drivers right now would think to themselves, perhaps I need to undercut as soon as I possibly can?
Don't think so, and I think that because the earlier you go into the pit lane, the more fuel you definitely have to put into the car, and the heavier your car is for slightly longer. It isn't actually as good to undercut in this series as it would be in most other series. You don't really get the benefit from new tyres in the same way that you get when the car is that much heavier compared to cars that are running their fuel tank dry. So actually I think the longer you can go, the more fuel you can save in close quarters is going to be really beneficial to you. Andy Chow, I'm not sure whether he's trying to save fuel, but Rob Mackay wants to get through. But yeah, I think the longer you can go and the further into this race you can find yourself on this opening stint, the better you're going to do. And even if it's 2 or 3 seconds you gain in that pit stop window by going longer, it's going to be huge in tight trains like this.
Oh, 100%. And speaking of tight there, a lovely move being made by Rob Mackay to pass Andy Cho in the end. Had to set it up through multiple corners, and well, he's finally found a way past the Quackmass Corvette, and now all the places seem to fall in line as Menno Blom gives the slipstream there to his teammate Mark De Vries for a brief moment to help him get on past, and the Sim Racing Team Lowlands driver then going defensive down towards turn 1, and that's essentially to make sure that Chell cannot defend on the inside, and that's going to give De Vries the run around the outside. Remember, 2 into drives trying to pass the club driver, but the problem is you go around the outside of turn 1, you run out of road camber very quickly there, and Chell's still side by side. And to be fair to Andy, he's in the thick of it, he's enjoying himself, and Steve Rubino is almost with them. We'd love to keep an eye on that battle for a good portion of time, and we have. However, there's also other action happening elsewhere, and we must go to that. Speaking of which, Adam Baker here, currently third in the Interclass. He's got David Hutchinson hot on his heels at the Porsche versus the Mustang at the moment, and John Braithenbach queuing up behind. But Braithenbach, of course, having the problem. He's a pro behind some Inter drivers, but well, one of our leading drivers in the Interclass here, Adam Baker right now, Darren, enjoying himself and potentially seeking a podium in this race today. Although David Hutchinson, it looks so, his championship charge is finally hitting second gear.
Yeah, it really is. Good start so far from him. As he looks to try and assert a little bit of dominance onto his championship challenge as we work our way through to end lap number 7 of this race. But he's right up behind Adam Baker, and he's behind Phillips. And Phillips is just trying to keep himself with head above water, really. He's got a couple of drivers to keep himself before break back. Of course, he will be fighting for points in class. 8th and 9th they are in class, as David Hutchinson now looks in the inside line on Mr. Baker. This is for a podium place in class, and he's going to get that one done to the inside. I said this is going to be a race about who's braver on the brakes in towards corners like turn 1. And David Hutchinson's braver just there.
Oh, indeed, a very brave move there in a car that normally isn't as comfortable on the brakes compared to the Porsche, but Hutchinson making it happen. Of course, Adam Baker might be thinking, well, if I stay with that Ford Mustang over the distance, I'll get it back in the pit lane. That's always one consideration there, particularly with Baker not fighting that too hard. He might be thinking bigger picture at the moment as they head onwards, and we do leave the onboard looking rear picture of David Hutchinson's car. And we come back to Nick Stubb as our camera whirls on around, but the drives are too quick. And well, what a pack this is. That's Matt Hoyland ahead of Lewis Kenyon still, as Hoyland takes another trip there to the gravel. He doesn't seem to be too happy on this lap, but that's Hoyland, Kenyon. And then your interleader of Stubb, ahead of Seb Plug and Sam Darbyshire, and then you've got Chris Jennings at the back of the group right now. And I can imagine, Darrell, that Chris is probably thinking to himself, can we politely get all these pros out of the way, or can they get past Nick Stubb and bring him back to me, please? Because, well, he's having to wait a bit patiently, although he picks up a yellow flag for track limits as well. So Chris right now having a bit of a miserable lap, and Nick Stubb, meanwhile, he's probably thinking to himself, actually, you know what, I kind of like this. If I'm surrounded by pros, I'm quite safe.
Yeah, it's a good place to be, because you can always manage the position that you're in without gaining or losing too much, and he knows he'll feel a little bit safer. What's happened to Hayden Miller?
You've got a bit of discontinuity for Hayden Miller, I think. If that is the case, and it continues, he may be out of this race due to a technical issue.
Yeah, that's not good. Not good at all for Hayden Miller. He's dropping down like a sack of spuds at the moment. Maris and William Humphrey, though, they're not really complaining. They're right at the front of the field now, and Maris got a 3-second lead. He's in dreamland all of a sudden.
Indeed. I mean, it's the one way you never want to try and gain the place is for your rival retiring. You always want to try and do it through battling, but when it happens, sometimes Lady Duck favours you, sometimes it does not. And well, it's definitely worked out there, it would seem, for our Class 10 racing drivers who are now 1-2. But of course, that means now Matt Hoyland has the unenviable task. He was leading the run for 4th place overall. Now it's for 3rd place overall in the Pro Class. And well, that's Lewis Kenyon and Seb Plug and Sam Darbyshire he's bringing with him in class. It's not going to be easy at this point, but we do see there one of our users in the chat asking, can someone explain the yellow flag meaning again? And what it does mean in the time tower is a driver has picked up a slowdown penalty for track limits. It's an automated penalty that you'll see iRacing give to a driver when they're a bit extreme with their track limits, where they run wide or cut a corner too much. And iRacing essentially says, if you cut the course, you need to give the time back, and it will prescribe a driver a certain amount of time. It's normally somewhere in the region of 1 to 2 seconds, and they will have to lift and coast, and within 30 seconds burn that time. If they do not give the time back, it will then be upgraded to a black flag, which will mean they have to come into the pits for normally a drive-through penalty. So hopefully that explains the picture. As meanwhile, in your pictures, this is Max Wheeler and Owen Seward going toe-to-toe, and Wheeler finally moving his way into 27th place. Made that progress, and Owen Seward, meanwhile, all over the back, flashes headlights, however. Darragh, I don't know if you've got the little book of Morse code here with regards to motorsport, but I wonder if you're saying that, can you politely move out the way?
That's what a flash of the lights mean, isn't it? Drivers like to be quite firm about it. They don't like drivers getting in their way or feeling like they should be in front or feel like they're getting blocked. So that they're normally quite clear, and often if something happens and they're not happy about it and the driver ends up in front, they give them a nice little traffic lights as well. Tell us all the time, it's the simplest form of racing communication, and yeah, we see it quite a lot, don't we?
Oh, indeed, we do. And, well, as we see Michael Rhodes chasing after Danny Ware as well. Well, right now, it's going to be the battle for fourth place between our two Porsche drivers. We do get the on-board dashboard here. And Rhodes looking for the move around the outside. Can he get it down to turn one? Remember, heavily camber corner and entry, but then he's going to have to go uphill on exit. And it goes off camber gradually as he exits. And that's going to enable Danny Ware just to be able to stay ahead for now. And the Darkwing Racing driver itching to make a move. With Owen Stewart ahead as well, they probably don't want to let Owen go either, because that would be third place in the club class right in front as he comes down in towards the second of the chicanes here. But there's no real opportunity to make a move at this point. They do look to the class standings on the left-hand side of the screen. More fighting to come between this trio. Definitely can feel that coming into the distance. Stuart Rice, meanwhile, he's running in 6th in club, and he's had a really good start to this race. Started 11th in class and all the way back in 46th overall, and he's gradually made his way through the madness. And the 142 driver right now in his BMW, almost with the top 5 of club class. And definitely right now, Stuart, a driver who's had quite a bit of bad luck in previous seasons. He's been one of those drivers who's been constantly chasing top 5s, podiums, and even wins. But when he's been in the winning position, normally bad luck has found him as well. Indeed, they say lightning never strikes twice. And unfortunately, Stuart Rice has definitely had the lightning hit him multiple times in previous seasons. If my memory serves me correctly, season 10 in particular was perhaps the infamous season where it just did not click together, Stuart Rice, when it all was looking so good on pace. But sometimes that's the way it goes. But as these guys now look to perhaps settle down a little bit, we do look up the road to the Interclass. And here we are with Hussein Sarakadesla, who does have John Treen right in front of him. And GPX Sports Vertex driver in the very popular Porsche. Also being followed by Vince Zetskis behind him, the pro driver there. And we do get towards the end of the opening 20 minutes this race. Well, almost towards the end of what would have been the anticipated sprint race distance, Dara. And I suspect now drivers will be thinking perhaps about the pit stop. But like you say earlier, it's probably better to go long rather than to go short, given how packed this field is and the fact the undercut isn't as strong as we normally see in other longer races.
And I think it's interesting at this track as well, because it's a track where you can do a lot more lifting and coasting than you could at other circuits. And I say that by, into some of these chicanes, just lifting off before you brake, maybe even not using the brakes. You're going to save a lot of fuel for yourself and maybe not lose too much time. With it being 65% fuel tanks though, and you can't be too heavy basically, you can't have too much fuel in your tank at any one time. It means that window is going to be very narrow because drivers are going to be trying to work to a number on their fuel. They may not have expected it coming to tonight. Of course, it was meant to be 2 30-minute races, but it is what it is. And yeah, interesting to see how busy the pit lane will get and how far some drivers can go. They'll be looking, I think, to get towards that 25-23 minute mark.
Oh, indeed, and by going that long, well, they may just save themselves a bit more time later on in the race when it comes to strategy. But right now, we come back right in time to look back from the rear of Adam Atherton's Lumen Motorsport Ferrari. Under pressure there from Reece Saunders in his Mercedes, vouching for him esports, and getting a huge run there. So he almost scratches the camera off the back of the car, and we're going all the way down the start finish straight here. And we will see that Ferrari gradually build up speed. That Mercedes will outrun it little by little. Top gear for that would be Ferrari. Definitely one of the slower gears when it comes to top end speed. And it's normally why Ferrari drivers hold 5th gear for as long as possible, because it's just got a bit more punch. But around the outside, Reece Saunders goes. That is at 9th place in the Pro class, taken away there. As meanwhile, we have had a black flag awarded to Ignaz Vincezevskis, and that is for track limit. So he's picked up enough instant points. I do believe it's a very tight limit for the purposes of Masters. Well, sadly for him, it means he's got to drive through and it resets all of his progress. But speaking of resetting things, we need to take a look back at some of the big moments we've had thus far. We've had so many great moments of racing, we haven't really gone back, and we do take a look back at some of our moments. Starting off with what happened to Sam Darbyshire here, Dara.
Yeah, let's have a look at Sam. Of course, this was at the start of the race, running right towards the front of the field. Does he get contact from the front? Does he get hit from behind? It's close. He watches that. Oh no, he just loses the rear end. Maybe we would have. Oh no, it wasn't even him who lost the rear end. That was Ignaz who lost the rear end, and Sam just got pulled up into it, which is just really unfortunate. But tricky in the opening stages, especially when it's so congested, to avoid moments like that.
Oh, 100%, and this is what it looked like from Ignaz's perspective. And well, for our Ferrari driver from Vulkan Motorsport, looking to do battle there, took just a very tight line. And if there was a brush with the Glass Tech Racing Mercedes, it would have been an instant brush at that. But unfortunately for Vincezevskis, it went round and to the ground before he really got going. But that was the instant we saw right at the start. We had this repeat driver a little bit later, and this was your LS Racing driver, find himself right in the thick of the fighting. Going through turns 13 and 14. What exactly went wrong? Well, he had to take evasive action there from a car that was going sideways that got turned back the right way. But then you can see Stuart Rice in return, I think, being caught out there and almost pinching the back end of Menno Bloom. So they all survived that just about. But then I do believe how we had this happen for Lawrence de Dapper a lap later. This was on lap 2.
Yeah, but it's just a bit of a mess, isn't it? Lawrence is kind of, just gets turned, isn't it? It's that in the 301. That's not.
I think that's Reece Saunders.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal driving now. I don't know if we can just roll it back again. You can see Lawrence is on the right-hand side, and the other car just comes across him. Puts Lawrence
try and go back a bit earlier for you.
Yeah, let's see. This is Reece. So let's see it. I don't know, can we see it on board from Reece? I don't know if I'm asking too much. Thanks, Paul. Here we go then. Reece. He gets involved in a collision into the corner, then comes through Lawrence de Dapper. I think it's just a bit of a mess, and I think he's a bit distracted on the exit of the corner. He's been hit, he's got involved, he's not really aware of that car on the right hand side and how much room he's left, and it's messy, but it's unfortunate.
Oh, indeed, unfortunate moment there, and we had a lap later. This happened to Chad Henson. So, same sequence of corners finally. I think it seems though turns 2 through to 5 have been a bit of an instant hotspot today. Henson taking a bit of sausage curve there at turn number 4. Rear of the car, let's go! And unfortunately, that was a Mercedes in the form of Samuel Clark trying to go around the outside to take evasive action, and Henson slide in the end, careened with what was Clark. So I think an innocent instant there, but understandably for Clark that will be one of those moments whereby he'll be fuming about it. We also had this for Andy Chell on lap number 7. So this was your Corvette driver after being passed by Rob Mackay. He found himself in a bit of a lonely spot, and once the Quackmas Motorsport driver went into turn 15, the rear of the car just completely let go. Well, to be fair, the way he's been driving that Corvette, I'm a bit surprised he was looking so cool, calm and consistent. And, well, we also did have this there for John Treen on lap 9.
Yep. John coming into a couple of little moments. Let's see it through the back end of the circuit. Rear end looking a bit loose, goes into that right-hander, and again loose, just goes wide. He didn't want to send the car into a spin, so just decided to shoot it off into the gravel. And in the moment, probably the right decision because he's kept it in a straight line.
Oh, indeed, and was it was continuing to slide loose there. I definitely think a bit of grip being lost. We'll come back to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, but we'll be back in time for an eternity. There's been so much action so far, and we've still got so much more action to come. But where do we come back to? We come back to the battle for third. Hoyland still ahead of Ploeg, with Kenyon and Darbyshire queuing up behind. And right now, it's one Glass Tech driver here holding off the offensive of 3 Vulkan Motorsport drivers. And, well, I think that Hoyland at the end of this one, Darryl, is going to be saying to his teammates of Hipper and Humphrey, look at all what I've done for you guys today. You guys owe me a beer or an equivalent beverage.
Yeah, he's done a great job so far. His Glass Tech just have that control of the race at the moment, and Matt Hoyland really is a really important part of that. Even if he's not necessarily on the same pace as Maris and William, he's holding back some of the really fast chargers, particularly like Derbyshire and Plurg as well, who of course are both champions of this series in the past. In 4th and 6th for the time being. Stubber, of course, doing an incredible job as well. Sat in 7th place, just being able to control it. I think he'd want, a little bit of comfort with Chris Gunnings, the next car behind him, but he's in the lead and he's doing well for the time being, and he'll be focusing on that pit stop window soon with 25 minutes to go.
Oh, indeed, time continued to be of the essence here. We're almost at the halfway point. It's crazy how quick this race has flown us on by. And as we do continue the trainer cars here, well, no change coming just now. And like you say, it's Stubbs looking a bit confident versus Chris Jennings, who's 2 seconds behind. But meanwhile, drama back. That's Daniel Millar, who's gone around, and somebody else has gone straight off there at the final corner. Who's that in the distance, I think? And that's Sarka Dessler there. So GPX Sims will have 2 drives off at the final corner, and Miller's a very critical one in the fact he was running second in club. But coming out to the final corner, that is Michael Rhodes in the Darkwing Racing car. But he ducks to the pit lane there, so he does not pick up second immediately in club. He says, right, I'm actually not going to pass go. I'm not going to collect second place, but instead I'm going to make one into the pit lane. So Miller comes back onto the road. Look at this, Stuart Rice, James Bostock, Rob Mackay, they're all with him. So Miller right now is having a nightmare moment. And, well, Stuart Rice dives up the inside and says, thank you very much. I'm going to take that off you straight away. I mean, at this point right now, we'll get a replay of that shortly, but that's a shock there, Darren, because Miller's been looking absolutely hot today, and right now, perhaps a little bit too hot for comfort in the car.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting as well when we're seeing those pit stops going on right now, a little bit early before the half resistance. They're going to be hard-pressed to get to the end. difficulty between. I mean, it's James Bosstock and Rob Mackay. These two know each other quite well, so I don't think they're likely to come together on the circuit in a way that they're going to be annoyed with each other. But you never know. They'll work their way through. But yeah, Mella, he's been such a good, consistent driver so far this evening. Surprising to see that, but still only P3 at worst right now.
Oh, indeed. Quite a bit of damage to the car, and well, he'll have to struggle on that damage with there being no fast repair, of course, but we get a quick replay as to what exactly happened there. Here we go. So, turn 15 proved to be a bit of a hot spot for GP SimSport, and he made his way in, took a lot of curb going in, carried the speed, and the rear of the car just slowly let go. But then what happened to Saka Dessler? Well, he came to the scene the instant. Oh, goodness me. And he tried to go low, but unfortunately, Mello was trying to go as low as possible to get out the way of the racing line, and Saka Dessler really being ejected to the tyre barrier there. So a nightmare moment. Two teammates coming together. Not what you want to have happen as we head back to your live pictures, Dara. Yeah,
not at all. And he's going to have to, struggle on with that. And he's got over half the race to go. Which isn't ideal. In fact, it feels like we've plodded through the last 15-20 minutes or so. I wonder if it will feel like it's speeding up soon, but you can see him going wide. He just can't really control the rear end of that car. Through comes Bosstock. Mackay's going to come in here. Comes Daniel Mella into the pit lane. Well, it's just not comfortable, is it? Not comfortable at all. And it's going to get messy towards turn one.
Oh, it is. They make the way down, and well, James Bosstock goes defensive. Mackay looking around the outside, and you see the fanning out there. Breitabat and Dapper behind as well, and that's going to be Breitabat diving up the inside there. He's a bit too far back to go for it, but that's more to cover off. Dapper's trying to make a move, and well, it's 2x2 here. And we promise you, ladies and gentlemen, that this is not a formation lap. This is a race lap, but Mackay goes a bit too high on the apex of turn 2, and in the end, James Bosstock will just take that place back off of him for now. But Breitabat and Dapper still together as they fight over 12th place in the interclass meanwhile. So we've got a battle for a podium spot potentially in the club class, just had a battle to be just outside the top 15 in the inters. But either way, these drivers right now enjoying themselves out there, no doubt about it, and things heating up. But the prospect of a pit stop is not too far away for these drivers. Meanwhile, we've had a bit of a fall down the order, I believe, for Adam Atherton. In fact, I think Atherton's having a similar situation to Hayden Miller, which is potentially a technical issue with the car, and therefore discontinuity and the end of his race. Hopefully not so, but we may be losing Atherton shortly. But as we do seem to lose him, one thing we don't lose is Jan Osberg, enjoying a battle with John Ludbrook. Ludbrook has gradually made his way up the order. In fact, Ludbrook, I think, is one of the biggest gainers in Interdara. He's come all the way from the 17th place in class, and he's now running in 8th place. It's huge, the amount of ground he's made.
Yeah, really impressive to see. Really good race from him so far, and he's right behind Jan Osberg as well to maybe take P7 in that interclass. You can see really on that time in tower, you've got that front group of guys and then the rest that kind of have fallen by the wayside, but Con has been very steadfast at the front, or not at the front, but working his way towards the front. And Jan Osberg is his next target. I wonder where he is targeting right now for a finishing position. Has been near half race distance, but yeah, great race from him, and looking keen to make more moves as well.
Well, he's eager to make some moves, and whilst he's waiting for an opportunity to pass the Mercedes driver, we do have Matt Hoyland still holding third here, with Ploeg, Kenyon and Darbyshire all behind, and Hoyland right now doing everything to stay resilient. Now, we do have a question being asked with regards to what exactly happened between Hoyland and Seb Ploeg on the previous lap. So they did swap the places around for a brief moment, and we get a quick replay of that, and here's an explanation as to what happened. Was heading down the start-finish straight, and Ploeg had already got ahead, I suspect, into the final corner, and Hoyland in the end came back at him, but they were too wide, and well, normally the driver on the outside struggled to get the move done at turn number 1, but Hoyland not so, committed to the bit, no understeer there, too wide. Oh, they both twitched loose there, literally together, and well, Seb Ploeg in that McLaren in the end, the rear just biting him a little bit, and Hoyland able to get on through. Well, I'll be down. I mean, two very talented drivers, but both going sideways there as much as straight, and Matt Hoyland getting that move done.
Yep, and in the end, Will is the one who still stays in front, and Ploeg's going to have to try somewhere else to make the move, and that gap to William Humphrey grows and grows. We're past half race distance now, and well, it's about 15 seconds, isn't it, between Maris Zimmer and Ploeg in P4, so Glasstech really having a strong race here this evening. A couple of cars getting in the way slightly, that are being lapped coming out of the pit lane. Sam Darbyshire will work his way through, as will Stuber, I think. But that top 7, that group of 5 is so close together still. I wonder how the pit stop strategy is going to shake up this little train.
Oh, indeed. It'll be very interesting when they all come in. It'll also be interesting to see they're all trying to go as long as possible, because the idea being here, you want the lightest car for that final stint. But if there is a split, if somebody does decide to go one lap earlier or can go one lap longer than the others, will it just lead to a little bit of a knee-jerk change? Of course, Nick Stubb is currently in the lead of the Interclass, and Glass Tech Racing driver still 2 seconds ahead of Chris Jennings. Chad Henson does step aside there, much like Pete Piper did earlier on, going a lap down the pair. Great awareness from them both, not to interrupt this long train of pro and Inter drivers. But Chris Jennings, well, I think right now he'll be envious of the fact he's not in that group, because he was on the back of it. He'd be able to mount some more pressure. Speaking of pressure building, as he rolls his way down the hill, well, we do look back to Hoyland right now, and Blake was quicker than him coming into this corner a couple of laps ago. That's how he got the move initially done. Right now waiting, but will he come into the pits this time? Well, going down through the corner, the laps are starting to improve. They are starting to push towards very low 46s, perhaps even a 45.9 if they can find it. But no, another lap they go on to altogether. I think right now they're all waiting for the leader to potentially show his hand, or for the fuel tank to say, you can't go another lap, you're going to have to come in. Heading onwards, we do look to none other than what is the machinery of Barry Wenman and also Janosberg and Lewis Hammond. Well, we do have Wenman in the midst here. They've yet to pit these three, but they've all had very different races, Darren. Lewis Hammond, of course, he had a brilliant start, but then it ended up in the gravel earlier on. Janosberg has been fighting his way forward, and Barry Wenman, much like what was none other than John Ludbrook, he started 18th in Inter. He's now halfway towards the lead. He's up into 9th. He's half the deficit. Yeah,
really good work from Barry over the course of this race. A few drivers that I think have been there or thereabouts all the way through, and have been able to benefit from avoiding a lot of the incidents towards the start, and can now look at this second 30 minutes of this hour-long feature and really select where they want to be pushing and where they want to be trying to catch up to. Lewis Hammond is the one right in front of him for Barry, and then he's got a bit of a gap up to John Ulbrich, but those gaps in the mid-pack are slightly larger. You get those trains forming, but you know, outside of this one between Barry and Lewis, between Adam Baker in 13th and really Menno Blum in 21st, so a good 8 or 9 cars. There's not really any tight gaps at all. I mean, Menno's coming to the pit lane, of course, but yeah, difficult to say exactly where they're going to be targeting until the pit stop phase shakes itself out. But the longer we go, the better it is for drivers. They'll definitely know they can get to the end.
Oh, 100% agree with you on that. We look to Owen Seward for a brief moment. The Vulkan Fasters by Glass Tech Ford Mustang driver still attacking James Bostock. Now, Rob Mackay has cleared both of them. Many of you may remember, of course, Mackay had to make that move on Bostock and tried several times, but he finally landed his mark. And, well, as they come on around right now, it's Seward who's lost out in the trio. He's gradually been pushed backwards after doing so well to get ahead of them earlier on. There's still going to be opportunities for him to perhaps go on the attack. In fact, getting so close to the back of Bostock at this point, I think if he was any closer, he would be in the rear of that portion. He'd be doubling up the engine that's mounted at the back. But in front of them, that's Mackay being passed by Marcel Breitenbach. So swap of overall position. But right now, we're staying transfixed to this battle for what is club second, third, and fourth. You run on board with your fourth place driver in the club class. And I mean, Seward here definitely staying nice and firmly behind Bostock at the moment. Ford Mustang that might be just getting ready to go into the pits. All 30 looking to go on the attack. But as he comes out that final corner, we're at the throttle here, 5-litre V8 absolutely roars, but nobody fills in here. The problem is Seward, for all the straight line speed he does have, he just doesn't have an answer in the corners, and that's why the gap opens up so much. Plus Bostock does have the toe of Mackay in front of him, and that just helps keep the Porsche driver a little bit safer than he would normally be. But coming on down, and there we can see Mackay right now taking a cheeky peek at the inside of Breitenbach, thinking about coming back at the barbecue bread racing driver. That's not going to quite work out this time, and he's going to have to try and work with the Inter driver just to be able to steadily break away. When we show our pit stops on the time tower there, you see the majority of the drivers leading in each of the classes have yet to take a pit stop. Club seems to be the exception here, where we do have the top 7 who've yet to pit, but otherwise a lot of drivers have pitted, and one of the drivers to watch out for is none other than Stuart Rice, and here we are with him, Dara. I mean, he's pitted quite early, but he's come out in a relatively clear amount of track. He's got a lap down car in front of him, I believe, and then he's got 6 seconds to ANHL. Stuart might, I don't think he's going to be able to take the win here today based on strategy, but he could surprise everybody by leaping his way up onto the podium again.
Yeah, he kind of, you know, disappears for a little while and then reappears at the end of the pit stop window. He's going to surprise a few people when everybody does make their pit stops, and they are going a long way for the fuel tanks that they've got. But I think if any track you can push forward, as I said earlier, this is a track where you can probably save a little bit more fuel. Interesting that Stuart came in so early, because with every passing lap that everyone else doesn't come in, I'm sure he'll be surprised and feel that the overlap maybe isn't working in the way, the overcut I should say, isn't really working, undercut, overlap undercut, you know what I mean, it isn't working the way that he necessarily would have wanted it to. 216 right in behind him, but again, we're not really seeing that mass pilgrimage down pit lane just yet, are we? In the way that maybe we'd expect at some point. Many drivers not yet coming to the pit lane, but Stewart's one of them. We'll just have to see how this pans out. I'm interested, and the longer it goes on, it gets even more intriguing, I think.
Oh, indeed. And well, speaking of a pilgrimage to the pit lane, we do have David Hutchison emerging now, the Access Sport with SimCoach driver there. And well, he at the time was running at the back end of the top 5 of Inter. This is going to bring him out, and this is not a good place to be because he's come out right behind Owen Seward. Now, the reason that it's not a good place to be isn't because he's come behind Owen Seward. Don't worry about that. We're not picking on the man. But because he's got Seward, Saunders, De Vries, and Bostock all in front of him. Bostock has yet to pit. Seward has yet to pit. Meanwhile, De Vries and Saunders have pitted, and that problem is in the fact, well, in fact, Mark De Vries has not pitted. We should correct ourselves there. He was in the pits to start this race due to the fact he missed the gridding procedure, but he has yet to take his mandated pit stop with regards to the fuel he'll need. So Hutchin now has got quite a traffic jam in front of him. If he catches up to it too soon, he might be thinking to himself he has lost time rather than gained it. So like you say, Dara, that window right now proving to be intriguing, but a lot of drivers still carrying on, and of course, carrying on right towards the front is that absolutely brilliant battle from third all the way through, down to 7th overall. It's all pros minus Stubb at the back there, the interleader, but here comes Ploeg.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if we're going to see Nick just hang on to the back of it. He's never going to try and make an overtake, is he, realistically? He doesn't want to throw away this win, potential win in class, but Hoyland still doing what Hayden and Humphrey would consider God's work, quite frankly, by holding back everybody, and there's going to be growing frustration, you'd feel, in that Vulkan camp that they just aren't able to get through, but it's just giving Maris and William Humphrey a beautiful run at the lead of the race. They can really relax and ease into their strategy whenever they decide to come down the pit lane. I don't think you're necessarily worried about them making a mistake either. Not to jinx them, but of course interested to see how this one is going to properly pan out in this train, because surely Hoyland can't hold fast for forever, can he? I mean, he's done it well so far, but surely there's going to be one moment that he loses this position.
Well, if he can hold on for this long, I can tell you one thing, it's definitely a test of mettle and endurance today for him, as everyone's been so patient behind, but he's at the game full of the leader, as behind we've also got a little bit of scrap going between Danny Phillips and John Breitenbach as well, as the 372 driver battle the 2 Porsches staying together here. And well, I'll tell you one thing, the barbecue bread racing livery there, all the colours of the South African flag incorporated into that single livery, plus some also other dulcet tones there. I mean, if we're giving out awards for lovely liveries, I'm sure there's plenty out there, but in fact, let's scratch that thought for a moment, because into pit lanes, we do look to the blimp camera, that is Glass Tech Racing's 1-2 of Maris Hidman and William Humphrey. But Matt Hoyland comes in as well. Perhaps it's time for the big exodus, although Vulkan Motorsport, Lewis Kenyon and Darbyshire, they're all going another lap.
Yeah, I wonder if the plan was, when they realised it was going to be tricky to get through and maybe up to the top 2, that they just try and save and make sure that they can all get through and ahead of their target. Difficult really to say. Excuse me. And difficult to say without being in the conversations, of course. But definitely something to think about. They are going to go slightly longer, and they should have a shorter pit stop than the Glass Tech guys, but nowhere near enough to catch Haber and Humphrey.
Oh, indeed. Well, there's Maris Hidman making his way out. Clear track in front of him. We do have now practically everybody coming into the pit lane. So I think we have hit the end of the 65% fuel tank the drivers have put in. And, well, what's changed in the pits? As Chris Jennings makes his way out, Nick Stubbs just up the road. Stubb has been dropped by Hoyland. The gap between him and Hoyland has actually jumped up to 3 seconds, which perhaps was to be expected. Jennings, meanwhile, a further 4 seconds behind. He did not have as quick a pit stop as Stubbs, so that's pulled him back. Reece Saunders comes on down the hill. Where's John Breitenbach? There he is. So Saunders does take that place back off the barbecue bread racing driver. So that's one change that has happened as a result of the pit stops. What has happening elsewhere? Well, Andrew Lartman comes on out. Club leader going in. Country club leader coming out as well. And, well, meanwhile, Rob Mackay is in as we do look to our blimp camera once again. Although he's hidden there by the grandstand. The Goodyear blimp decides just to go in the wrong direction at the right time to hide him slightly. But right now, as he makes his way out, well, right behind him, I believe that is, well, that's not Jan Nuggie, that is James Bostock heading out, but Bostock's lost out as well, so Mackay's clear. Stuart Rice, where's he? There's Stuart Rice, and well, that is going to be into 3rd place in club for Rice. So, the Blue Sky Esports driver went for the undercut strategy. It's worked out for him by pitting 5 laps earlier. He's been able to move up to 3rd. Owen Seward has come out ahead of Bostock as well. That's a bit of a surprise, but Seward did pit a lap earlier than him. Bostock's perhaps the biggest loser in the pit lane here, Dara, for the club class. He's dropped all the way from what was third, chasing second. Now he's at the back end of the top 5.
Yeah, it's disappointing for him, but he's not far away in terms of the time gaps. He's not going to be overly worried, I don't think. He is right there. The top 3 have come in. Him has gone through. Humphrey's going to go through as well. You can see Darbyshire still stopped in his box, and Hibben's already down into turn number 1. Humphrey goes through. Lewis Kenyon, they've started moving off pit lane, but where is Matt Hoyland in comparison? Let's see. He's going to come through to cross the start-finish line, and then we'll have to see how far behind he is. There they come now, getting up to speed. I think they've all got him, you know. Hoyland is trying to go through, but no, all 3 of those Vulkan cars are ahead, and that's exactly what I think they planned.
Indeed, it's worked out, and as the A-team will say, they love it when a plan comes together, and right now, well, that's definitely an A-team effort there from Vulkan Motorsports. They have moved all 3 drivers ahead of what has been the cork in the proverbial bottle of Matt Hoyland, but if Hoyland is going to be rewarded at Glass Tech, he definitely will have earned it, because he has bought the trio of Ploeg, Darbyshire and Kenyon a gap of 7 seconds that are going to close down, and William Humphrey and Maris Hibner can now, with 18 minutes left in this race, there's still plenty of laps to go, to be fair, with each lap being 1 3/4 minute. You do the quick mathematics there, you are looking at approximately what is another 7 laps or so to go, including the one they're currently on, but close that gap down, unless Hibner and Humphrey both make some major errors. Right now, it's definitely looking to be a 1-2 for Glass Tech and Pro and overall, and Ploeg right now will be hoping he can perhaps just make this third place count. But Hoyland, of course, he's now chomping on the bit here, and in fact, he's all over the back of Lewis Kenyon immediately here, Darren. I mean, we know Hoyland's quick, but after coming out of the pit stops, you'd think he'd need at least half a lap to get himself turned back on in terms of those tyres, but right now, he's immediately flicked the switch, and it's almost as if he hasn't pitted.
Well, of course, because Matt Hoyland, of course, was the one who pitted slightly early, wasn't he? So he was the one that's got them up to the temperature, and it's tricky for Lewis, I think, to get the heat going. Let's see if there are a bit of a move to the inside. No, not quite. But Matt Hoyland is there, looking for a bit of a wider line, tighter exit, better run. Oh, car off the road. It's a car a couple of laps down, so it won't involve this battle. Good exit here from Matt Hoyland. Does he have enough towards turn 1? Well, he's gaining bit by bit, isn't he? He might have to be very brave on the brakes.
Builds up the pace, gets it closer and closer. Like you say, he's going to be brave on those anchors, looking to the inside, but Kenyon says to him, no, you don't. So Hoyland goes one way. He's going to go all the way around the outside. He's going to try it here. He's tried it once, and it's worked out versus Ploeg. He can do it again, surely then. And as he makes his way up the hill, just runs a little bit deep, and unfortunately there, Kenyon is able to keep it nice, strong, and stable, and that Mustang with the weight over the rear axle, just able to keep it together a little bit more, and Hoyland loses now. He's going to have another go at this down in towards turn number 4, but in the end, it's all going to be a feint there. He's not going to be able to make that happen too far back and not alongside, so therefore stays as is. The driver who we did see pointing sideways, that was Andre Montine, who's had a bit of a difficult day at the office. That's probably the best way to describe it. 2 laps down with his spin, and well, it's definitely not been a happy day whatsoever, but we do have plenty of fighting here. Menno Blown trying to pick another place off. This is now 9th place. He's trying to steal away from Lewis Hammond in the interclass, going around the outside. Can he do what Hoyland could not? The answer seems to be no, he cannot either, as Lewis Hammond just simply runs to the middle of the road and says to him, that's as far as you go. Barry Wedman, meanwhile, well, he's going to be looking in his rearview mirrors and hoping that the 2 behind him fight even more. Well, this is not going to be easy viewing for Wedman at this point, because he does have Jan Osberg also closing up, and I do feel a bit sorry for Barry right now, Darren, because the DXT Motorsport Cyan driver, he's going to have the centre of attention on him, but it's not really positive attention. He's got 3 other Inter drivers here who would love to snatch that 8th place off of him.
Yep, and they're ready and raring to go to take that off of him. Barry's got to be very, very aware of that right behind. He's not going to catch anybody in front, let's be real, without mistakes. Maybe Hayworth and Hutchinson can fight for P3, but generally that top 8 or top 7 in the interclass is set. It's Hammond and Blunt pushing Barry Wenman up the road, and Hammond with a fantastic exit. He's going to have the outside line. Is he really going to try and walk it through there? No, and I think he's going to be careful that Menno doesn't come through as well, because he had the fastest time in qualifying in this class, did Menno. Wasn't able to start there, but clearly shows he had the pace. Here comes Lewis Hammond to the outside line, going to brake a little bit earlier, allow Barry to run the car a bit deeper, and maybe have a go into the final corner. Look at the exit difference.
Well, indeed, it's impressive how that Porsche picks up so much speed on these low-speed corners. The McLaren quick through the direction change and the medium-speed apexes. It really is 2 niche aspects of these cars being put to the test right now. And Hammond here, well, the problem he's going to have is it's going to be a flat 6 Screamer versus a V8 twin-turbo McLaren engine as they head down that straight. And the McLaren just over the legs slightly as they build up speed. But of course, Hammond does have the slipstream here. Menno Bloom as well on the toe. And Janusberg now 9 tenths behind. He's almost in this fight. But here they go go on to their 26th tour of the circuit, and we're blowing fans out to the outside. Now Lewis Hamilton looks up the inside, goes all down onto the anchors, and Hammond, I should say, they're going for that move, but again, he get it done. Wemmen defends, but he briefly lose what is meant to blow him to the ether, and in the end, Barry Wemmen just holds it on, and just holds on by a slender margin there, and holds on to 8th. Well, I think it's going to be a question of when Hammond will go for it next hour.
Yeah, because he's right there and he's shown that he's got the pace and he's shown that he's got a bit of overspeed, so I think he'll be the one confident in making this move work for him whenever he is raring to go, quite frankly. Barry Wemmen continues onwards, look to try and keep himself clear, but you're not going to feel safe, are you? It's all allowing Jan Osberg to come back into the battle. He's joining at the back of this train as well, and we could have a 4-car battle with only 13 minutes to go. Hibbers just crossed the line with 13 minutes to go. They're lapping at about 100 seconds a lap, and there's about 8 laps to go, I'd say, at this point. So there's still a fair few laps to go. Ooh, Lewis Hamilton's internet isn't particularly helpful, and that's not going to help out Mr. Menno Blum right behind.
They're coming down in towards turn 12, and Blown trying to go around the outside this time, and well, there's bravery, and then there's that, and in the end the SimRacing team Lowlands Dry knows to back off because the downhill nature of the corner means he's only going to go deeper and deeper the further he goes around that outside, and then he's going to find the gravel and the grass with it. So he stays where he is, but wants one good run. That's all he needs. It's a really strong run out while these corners. He may be able to get both of them in a single go. Well, here he goes. Then we ride on board the front bumper camera of the 234. Building up that speed as they run their way down the straight. And here, now going into 6th gear, this is where the Mercedes will be able to outrun the legs of the Porsche. Gets in close, looks the outside. Can he pass Hammond here before the braking zone? And you can see there, well, that's going to be Wemmen offering the slipstream to the Mercedes, trying to get the two to fight. Unfortunately there for Menno Blum, as much as he tries to go around the outside, just does not have the grip on the left-hand side tyres. Those outside tyres to be able to make that move stick, and now Jan Osberg right in there. Now we do have some requests from you in the YouTube chat there to show you Lorenz de Dapper. Well, we will show him to you very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, as this fight just takes a bit of a pause. Well, of course, the reason why we'd love to show him to you, because he's chasing after this man, Marcel Bertenbach, the low-Q bred racing driver, just ahead of the LS racing driver. And a shout out there to Vinky Kyle, who is going to be cheering on Lorenz today. But he's still got a lot more work to do. This is a very different story compared to Spa-Francorchamps, his home circuit, where he took that infamous into win, and they'd home the 1-2 LS racing. But here today, trying to take home that 12th place in the interclass, but still some time and work to go. But after all the pit stops, Dara, I mean, we've got these close pockets to battle in, but like you said earlier on, it does seem as though it's small pockets rather than grand battles at this point. But we could always expect that, Magello, can't we?
Yep, we can, and that's exactly what we've come to love about this circuit in GT3 racing, is those battles that last corner after corner, particularly where you don't necessarily expect it to work, but it does in the end. And it is great to see, isn't it? With only a few minutes now left on the clock, those drivers are really now focusing in on the battles that they want to be a part of and that they think are going to help them in the race. Marcel, I think he picked up that black flag, and I think he kind of just lost it a little bit. Maybe it was a loss of the rear end, and he got the black flag from the wide moment, and it all kind of came into one, but not good news for Marcel at all. And it looks great, that car, but he's not been feeling great on the inside.
Oh, 100% all went wrong there for Marcel Braithwaite, and here was a quick replay of what exactly happened there, and it was coming down through turn number 12. As he did so there, took the curb, ran out a little bit wide, touched the grass there and exit, and in the end became a passenger in his car, and the black flag being awarded for the off-track. And really, that is just adding salt to the wound at that point. It's almost they said, oh, and by the way, Marcel, yep, you've broken your front suspension, and you got a drive-through penalty. Can you please do that? Thank you very much. And on he goes, but understandably, the low-Q bred racing trial will be absolutely fuming at that area. It's such an easy one to make, but such a costly one as well. As we come back to live racing, 10 minutes on the clock, and here is Mark De Vries overtaking Jan Nagy for overall 31st, picks up another place, but it's not in the interclass, which is the ones he wants. But Lewis Hammond has found his way past Barry Wemmen, and I think now we're going to get a replay of that, and will take us away as to how it happened.
Yep, let's see. Lewis Hammond, there's three of them, aren't they? Lewis Hammond fanning out to the inside line. He's going to make sure that he gets that run. And the much better and optimal apex at turn number 1. Control it, don't really allow Barry back around the outside. And pin the exit. And that's a textbook overtake from Lewis. And he's nailed it in that Darkwing Racing car.
Oh, 100%, absolutely spot on overtake there, and well, Menno Blown, meanwhile, whilst we've been watching that play out on the replay, has found his way on past as well. So right now, the resilient wall that the McLaren driver has put up for DXT Motorsport Cyan, unfortunately, with 10 minutes to go, it does seem to be falling. But to be fair, given how hard he's had to drive that car, I'm not surprised if perhaps the rear tyres on his McLaren are screaming for a respite at the moment, because I imagine he's lost a lot of tyre life. But whilst this is still playing out, the battle for 8th through to length in the interclass, off camera, we should point out the fact that we still do have Andrew Larkman, your club leader, running 15th overall, and in club for the podium at the moment, it's Rob Mackay ahead of Stuart Rice. Rice is almost 4 seconds behind him, but it does seem as though the podium for the club class has calmed down after Rice's strategic gamble paid out, and Owen Stewart and James Bostock are very close together. In fact, here they are as they come down towards turn number 1, and you can see Bostock glued to the back of Stewart. So right now, Dad, they might not be fighting for a podium, but they're fighting for the right to be best of the rest in club.
They are indeed. Not a bad place to be, of course, because P4 wouldn't be a bad haul of points for Owen Stewart or for James Bostock in their championship aspirations. 8 minutes is all that's left now. We're into what probably will be the final 5 laps now. 8 minutes is, what, 480 seconds? Yeah, and we've just got one with him. So yeah, 5 more laps to go in this race. It's not a long time, and that's going to really go quickly. I think this race dawdled a bit in the middle. It's heated up in the last like 20 minutes, and it's now coming to a sprint finish.
Oh, indeed. At this point now, it's going to become about whether you've got the fuel to get to the end, plus also have you conserved the tyres enough, and have you as a driver got the energy to be able to do it. And indeed, everyone was set up for 2 sprint races. They were expecting very snappy races, and they wouldn't have been surprised if there were a few snacks on standby, half-time oranges, as they say. But right now, Danny Phillips here not caught in half-time on anything. He tries to hold on to 7th in pro versus Reece Saunders, who's looking for that opportunity. These two have been fighting each other pretty much since the start of the race. They've had 2 very different stories, where Danny Phillips has made up ground as the race has gone on. Meanwhile, for Reece, by comparison, it's been a race whereby it's gone backwards and he's had to try and recover the places. And, well, the 301 driver here is all over the back of Phillips, still having to wait for an opportunity to try and really pounce in again. Mercedes versus Porsche, we've seen this combination of cars going battling plenty of times today, and it's the classic adage of a car that's very quick on the straight versus a car that's quicker through the bends. As meanwhile, speaking of a Mercedes up the inside of Porsche, this is Lewis Hammond being passed by Menno Blown for 8th place in the interclass, so change there, and it does seem as though Menno Blown finally clearing the trio of Hammond, Rosberg and Wenman, but it took him the best part of 7 laps there, and a for Menno Blown at this point with John Lubbock 12 seconds up the road. I think the SimRacing team Lowlands driver will just want to conserve this place, run away a little bit, and at that point he'll rub his hands together and think, you know what, all in all, I started from the back, and in the end I've got through to 8. At some point, not the result he wanted, but he's worked hard for those points.
Yeah, he has, and I think that, like he said, that's probably the maximum he's going to be able to get in the end of this race. Menno's too far back to go after John Lubbock. He'll probably gain some time, but not enough to really make a big dent or to challenge John into the closing stages of this race. I'll be interested to see if there's much of a battle between Darbyshire and Kenyon, and with Hoyle just in behind in that pro class in the final few laps as well, of course. Teammates Darbyshire and Kenyon, I'm not too sure how hard they're going to fight. Phillips and Saunders as well, that's a tight battle. Hamilton and Osberg, we've touched on that, as we have Seward and Bostock. So battles that we've talked about are kind of coming down to a fine point. We're not seeing too many new battles start, but that's all right. We've got a few to keep our eyes interested in the final 5 minutes of this race. But you know, Derbyshire does have that advantage over Kenyon. Hoyland, though, he's been there, but almost he's getting a taste of their medicine room before, isn't he?
Oh, indeed. I mean, the way it's playing out at the moment, and for Hoyland, he wants to go on the attack, but I think he can match the pace of Kenyon. The problem is, I think for the Glass Step Racing driver, he's coming up against what is one of the situations whereby to progress further, he's now got to push into a very uncomfortable space in terms of pace. But as we do have a question there being asked what exactly happened to Hayden Miller and also Adam Atherton, we do have an update with regards to Adam Atherton that we found out from the pit lane, which is that he did have a technical issue with internet connectivity. So, therefore, he's had to retire from the race due to the fact, unfortunately, he just cannot race anymore. He has been completely removed from the iRacing simulator for this race. And well, for Hayden Miller, we don't know the story, but we suspect it is something similar, given the fact he was on the road and then he disappeared off the road. We refer to that as discontinuity. continuity, and it could be the equivalent of an engine blowing up in real-life motorsport. It can happen to anyone at any time. It could even happen to this broadcast right now, although now that I've said it, it's probably going to happen. I don't want that to happen. Goodness me, well, we've got the best part of 56 minutes of this race complete, but as we do go on to lap number 32 for these drivers, well, Hoyland's a bit closer this time. Dara, he might have a chance at this one. And well, it does look as though in at the end, I think Dow's just briefly stepped out of the commentary room, but I'm sure he'll be back in due course. And Hoyland not able to make this move this time. Although, Dow, I think you're back with me.
Yeah, no, sorry, I just forgot to unmute. I coughed and then didn't unmute again. That's my bad. It's going to happen at some point, wasn't it? But here we go. Yeah, I was just saying that it was interesting that Matt got close, not close enough. Lewis had a bit of that moment through turn one, didn't he? It's not too safe, but I was just saying that I think this is probably going to be a last lap overtake. It's going to be done.
Oh, indeed. And well, the last lap overtakes, of course, do encourage you to be that little bit bolder because it is the last lap. But of course, they've got to be ready for elbows out. And one other thing, I don't want to really put the curse on anybody, but one consideration is the fact that we do have an instant point limit of 14 before you get to a drive-through. Track limits have definitely been a bit of consideration today. We've seen a few drivers running wide. Are we at risk of seeing any final lap or last lap drive-through penalties being awarded? Well, if so, that could completely throw a spanner in the works, as Lewis Hammond still keeping Jan Östberg at bay, albeit the Swede now looking to go on the attack, looking outside to inside for turns 2 and 3. Barry Wenman watching on behind. He'd love to get back into this battle. They're not going to stop this fight until the very end of this race, as they come all the way down towards turns 4 and 5 right now. And well, you can see that Wenman would love to get involved, and Lorenz de Dapa is actually closing this group as well. There he is in 12th place. If he's going to get into this battle right at the end, he's going to need them to fight a little bit more. But, I mean, as a driver, Dara, on the final couple of laps, when you see the guys in front of you battling and they're 3 seconds up the road, surely that gives you this sort of false hope in a way that I could be in that battle. I just got to push a little bit harder now.
Yeah, you can see it in front of you. You can just almost feel your eyes widening. It's just so difficult. Because if you overpush the car, you're going to make a slight mistake and then you're never going to catch. It is tricky to be in that position. But yeah, Lawrence, I'm sure, will be doing everything. Because he was in that spin earlier and he probably would have been comfortably in 8th, if not higher, had it not been for that. So he wants to recover as many positions as he possibly can, but time really is running out for him to do so. 2 minutes left. I think he'll have 2 laps to go, depending on where Marius Hibner is. Where is Marius? I don't know if you can flash it up on screen. Thanks, Paul. It means, okay, so he'll have 1 more lap to go, will Marius, so it'll be basically 2 full laps for those guys just crossing the line now.
2 for them and 1 for this man. And right now for Marius Hibner, he is the quickest driver out on the circuit. Nobody is able to match him on pace right now, and I do believe he owns the fastest lap. He's the only driver today to set a 44.96 to the nearest 100th, so Hibner's really been in control. But it has been one of those stories whereby he didn't take control in qualifying. He's had to take control in the race, with some difficulty for the Vulkan Motorsport drivers really being the difference today. Otherwise it could have been a very different story for the Dane. He's got 1 more lap to go. It's not quite over yet. He's still got to make it to the finish line. So therefore, we're not going to sing his praises until he does see it the next time around, as the white flag gets ready to wave, and it starts waving as Marius Hibner goes on to lap 34. The last one we'll see here today at the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello. But with William Humphrey 10 seconds behind, and then Seb Ploeg, you can see in the rear of the picture, a further 4 behind. Right now, this podium is relatively settled. But in terms of any close battles out there, well, right now the only battle that really is left at this point does seem to be, well, it is the battle for 4th place in club between Owen Stewart and James Bostock, with Max Wheeler and Michael Rhodes closed onto the back of it. But they will have another lap after the one they're currently on, because they have not been put a lap down by Marius Hibner, who is literally coming up behind them at the moment. So I think Bostock will be hoping that Hibner does not pass him, so he'd love an opportunity to go after Stewart. Just be a little bit of time that's running out, as that's Owen Stewart getting it wrong there, coming out of Abiata 2, and Bostock not quite close enough to seize the opportunity, but Stewart making a critical error, and well, coming up towards turn number 12 now. Bostock just not there at the right time in the right place to be able to lunge it, but he will have 1 more lap to have a chance of it. As he rolls his way on down the hill, well, Max Wheeler, Michael Rhodes there or thereabouts, they get into the queue, Rhodes looking at a bit of clear road, but as he heads towards his final lap, well, meanwhile, Darrett, we do have our race leader coming towards the very end.
We do. Just a couple more corners to go for Marius. He's had such a controlled performance over the course of this race. He's been able to pull that gap to William Humphrey. Had the defence as well from his teammate Matt Hoyland. It's been a fantastic drive from him, and he got himself immediately into championship contention here tonight.
Oh, 100%. And as he makes his way out of the final corner for Marius Hibmer, it may have started in the second row, but it's a front row finish. It's victory here for the Glasstech Racing driver from Denmark, overall and in pro. He will be followed on home because it'll be a 1-2 for Glasstech Racing. William Humphrey takes the runner-up spot, and then Zeb Blythe comes home in third place in the end, overall and pro for Vulkan Motorsport. 5 seconds ahead of a teammate Sam Darbyshire, who is followed by Lewis Kenyon. Matt Hoyland, well, he'll be definitely owed a drink or two by his teammates at Glasstech Racing, did the work to hold on, and Nick Starber in 6th place there, or 7th place in the end, taking the Inter win by 7.5 seconds over Chris Jennings, who'll be a runner-up in class, and then we'll have Danny Phillips and Reece Saunders just behind, completing the top 10. That'll be Jean Breitemack coming home in 11th place, with Derek Hutchison completing the Inter podium there in 3rd, and then James Howarth and Adam Baker will follow behind. But for this man, well, we haven't really talked about him for too much today, because for Access Sport sim coaches Andrew Lartman, he dominated qualifying in the club class, and he's actually led the race all the way, and he takes the club win here, the Scotsman, and he'll be absolutely ecstatic about that, and by a huge margin in the end over Rob Mackay, it would seem. Well, he's still got a few drives to head towards the line, including this battle between Janusberg and Barry Wenman. As it comes down the hill, well, one last dance, as they say, towards the line. But who's going to be winning this one? Lewis Hammond's definitely going to be taking 9th and into with 20th overall. But I think Osberg's just going to have enough legs on that Mercedes to hold on. He does so 10th in class. But for Robert Mackay, 24th overall. Well, most importantly for him, this is a battle for second that has rewarded him handsomely. And the DXT Motorsports Thunder driver is absolutely lightning quick to line to take the run-up spot. And in Stuart Rice, with that undercut strategy, it takes 3rd place in club, and what a way to do it for the Blue Sky Esports driver. Owen Stewart and Michael Rhodes complete the top 5 of club, and James Bostock, meanwhile, losing out right at the end. Not quite sure what's happened to him, but with him, Steve Rubino and Daniel Paul finishing their races, Dara. That's everyone across the line, and a great end to an absolutely fantastic race.
Yeah, sorry, I will stop forgetting to unmute myself after I cough. Yeah, really good way to end the race. Competitive right towards the flag. Hipper and Humphrey, though, dominating in the end. Plug, Derbyshire, Kenyon, they look safe all the way through. Hoyland and Stubber, I mean, they ran alongside each other for a while. Nick dropped off the back a little bit of that train, but he won't care. He's taken home that win in the Interclass. And yeah, Andrew Larkman, what a way to control the pace. 15th overall, his second, well, the next closest drive to him was 9 places further down overall. Really, really dominant drive from Andrew. And he's going to be delighted, I'm sure, tonight.
Oh, 100%. And as our drivers make the way into pit lane, well, we take a look at the race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. And here we go. And as we do look to the overall results firstly, well, Marius Hibmer leading home a 1-2 for Glasstech Racing ahead of William Humphrey by the best part of 10.5 seconds. Sarah Blake took 3rd there for Vulkan Motorsports ahead of the sister Gold Team driver Sam Darbyshire, who unfortunately with that early incident was triggered off by his teammate of Vince Sevicis. It did mean in the end that Darbyshire being collected and was not able to make it onto the podium, although he came close. Lewis Kenyon took 5th place for Vulkan Motorsports ahead of Matt Hoyland. And the Glasstech Racing driver will definitely have done all the hard work today to make sure it could be a 1-2 for the team, but he sacrificed his own race to be able to do it. And Nick Starber, your inter-winner there in 7th place for Glasstech Racing. And Glasstech enjoying a huge set of results. And in the Teams Championship, it's going to be a huge injection of points. Chris Jennings, runner-up there in the Interclass for Access Sport with Sim Coach, ahead of Danny Phillips and Reece Saunders, who completed the top 10. John Breitemack was 11th best to rest, ahead of your 3rd place inter-driver of David Hutchison for Access Sport with Sim Coach. Then we did have James Howarth and Adam Baker complete the inter-top 5, but we did get to Andrew Larkman, your club winner in the end, and the Access Sport Sim Coach driver, as Darragh eloquently said, absolutely untouchable today. Rowan Aston, John Ludbrook, Wesley Van Brent, Menno Blymer and Lewis Hammond completed your top 20, and outside that top 20, 21st, it was Jan Osberg ahead of Barry Wenman, who unfortunately did get bullied down the order towards the very end of the race, and Lawrence de Dapper after that early spin. What could it have been? Well, sadly today, it was 23rd overall at best. Rob Mackay, leader of the battle for 2nd place in club, took it in the end, 24th overall for DXT Motorsports Thunder, ahead of Stuart Rice of Blue Sky Esports, who was catching him quickly towards the end of the race, but completed the club podium instead. And Owen Stewart and Michael Rhodes completed the top 5 of club, ahead of James Bostock, Steve Rubino and Daniel Paul, who completed your top 30. Mark DeVries was the first driver to finish a lap down, ahead of Jan Nagy, Max Wheeler, Rachel Hugh, Andy Schell, Pete Piver, John Treen, Chad Henson, Marcel Breitenbach. Speaking of Breitenbach, it was 2 laps down for the man, who unfortunately had that huge jump of the wall coming out of turn number 12 towards the very end for Barbecue Bread Racing. and Brian Beardsworth finished 4 laps down the end for GPX SimSport Xenon. Outside the top 40, we did have quite the list of retirements in the end, including Andrew Montine, Danny Ware, also Daniel Mellor. Unfortunately, it all went wrong for him too soon. Adam Afton with a technical issue. Hussein Sarkodessa, a huge hit to the wall coming out the final corner. And also we did lose Ignas Vincenzeviskis ahead of Hayden Miller, Simon Clifton, Samuel Clark, Matthias Smolny, Thiago Reza, and that was your over order. But Darren, coming back to you, of course, for what was our pro finishing order. And we did get to see what was Marius Hidman lead the way, did we not?
It was in the end. Marius got the win ahead of William Humphrey and Mr. Plug in P3. Sam Darbyshire, along with Lewis Kenyon, 4th and 5th. Vulkan really with a good chance of picking up some good points, but sadly for them, just 3rd, 4th and 5th. Glass Tech really did the best. 1st, 2nd and 6th. Matt Hoyland, that's driver, in 6th. Danny Phillips, Reece Saunders and Jean Brainback, the only other real drivers in contention in the race. They were within a minute of the winner. Wesley Van Ren was the only driver over a minute behind the winner, but not a lap down. Max Wheeler and Chad Henson a lap down in the end, and sadly for Adam Atherton, Ignaz Vincenzeviskis and Hayden Miller, they didn't really get themselves going tonight.
Oh, indeed. Didn't quite work out for them. And meanwhile, in the Interclass, what we did get to see was Nick Stubb in the end leading the way to the finish. And the Glass Tech Racing driver taking that 7-second win. Axis SimSport with Sim Coach, however, a double podium. Chris Jennings couldn't quite stay with Stubb over the distance, but he was making sure that he stayed clear of his teammate of David Hutchison. James Howarth for 4 seconds behind, with Adam Baker completing that top 5. And the LS Racing driver there in the end, seeing it all come to a close quite comfortably with that 5th place for LS Racing. 10 seconds adrift, it was Robin Aston ahead of John Ludbrook, with Menno Blom, Lewis Hammond and Jan Osberg rounding off the top 10, but so close in the end, from 8th all the way back to 12th, because Barry Wemman and Lawrence de Dapper added themselves to that formulaic mix, and it was 6 seconds separating 5 drivers. It was a lap down, unfortunately, for Mark De Vries, it was for John Treen, 2 laps down for Marcel Breitenbach, and then we did unfortunately have the retirements for Andrew Montine, Hussein Sarkodessa, Simon Clifton, Samuel Clark, Matthias Smolny, and also in there Thiago Reza. And then coming to the club class, what we got to see here was, of course, Andrew Larkman leading the way by 35 seconds, ahead of Rob Mackay and Stuart Rice. The Axis SimSports with SimCoach driver just unstoppable, but then 3 seconds separating the rest of the podium. Owen Stewart missed out by 2 seconds for Vulkan Fasters by Glass Tech Racing ahead of Darkwing Racing's Michael Rhodes, who did cheekily find his way past James Bostock at the very end. The GPX SimSport Onyx driver missing out in the top 5, and it was Steve Rubino ahead of Daniel Paul, who completed your lead lap finishes. Outside the lead lap, Jan Nagy 9th ahead of Rachel Hugh, and then Andy Chell. Plenty of fighting for him in the early stages, but it did go wrong midway through the opening stint for Quantum Mass Motorsport, and then LS Racing's Pete Piver finished the order on the lap down. 4 laps down, Brian Beardsworth, and then it was retirements for Danny Ware and Daniel Mellor. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll of course complete our rundown of the results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and as we get ready to step away to get set for our post-round interviews, I do believe Darren's going to need to step away, so unfortunately he won't be around for the interviews. But Darren, an absolutely fantastic race, and I'm sure it means that it's going to leave you salivating for even more next time out.
Yeah, indeed. If my chest behaves next week, that'd be great. But yeah, it should be a great one in 7 days' time. This is, different to what we expected. Of course, that 1 hour race we expected 230 minutes, but I think going into next week, it's going to be a really interesting championship picture, particularly between Glass Tech and Vulkan at the top of that pro class.
Oh, indeed. And well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step away in preparation for our post-round interview. So we'll be back in approximately 5 minutes' time, and we'll get those interviews underway. But until then, feel free to let us know in the YouTube chat what have been your favourite moments of the racing from tonight. And it's lights out and away we go for our season opener as Sardpie gets a good start, but look alongside him and you'll see there Milton Tomlinson Dennis immediately going the attack into the braking zone. 1 drive into the grass already, that's Mikey Story, but 3 wide they come into the opening corner. That's a bold move there. William Humphrey makes the place as they make the way through in towards turn number 2. I think the Altitude 3M Esports driver here might just be fancying his chances once again as they come into the braking zone now for turn number 1, and as they make the way from right into left, well, Hayden Miller here side by side with him. They'll go all the way through to turn number 3, and Saunders does take the place there. That's for overall position, not for pro position. Saunders is the pro leader, but he goes goes a bit deep there of 3 to the inside of 4 then, and Miller right now enjoying this. Saunders enjoying it. A little bit of rub and contact between the two of them, but nothing wrong with a bit of bump and grind between the two Fords, for the Ford and the Corvette, the two Americans I should say. And
with those two Evo drivers in front of him, because they're realistically in a completely different race, they're just a barrier up towards the likes of Rubino and Wendling. Oh, there's Rubino going off the road, and here comes James Bostock, past 1, past 2. This is a great little move from James.
Oh, and look behind him as well. Hardiek, up high, he decides to come back down low. But Denny Plurger has really lost a lot of ground here. He's lost 7 places since the start of this race in that green Porsche. But look at this, for the lead, Hammond wants it. He's gone back down the inside. He got off the brakes again to let the car down the inside of Rob Mackay. And you said Rob was going to be clinging on at the front. And now he's clinging on to second. Great move by Lewis Hammond. Really good committed stuff. And look, down the inside, Richard White. He wants a piece of this in the Porsche. He's got James Bostock.
And it's lights out and away we go here as Mirko Bortolotti goes exactly on the green, and as they roar the way down towards turn number 1, Martin Statman side by side with him, but look behind, Tim Perry under pressure, Miguel Leon immediately as the Enosis Esports driver tries to put the pressure on. Further back we've got 3, 4 wide, they're all in the crush as they come through the opening bank. Look back for the rear of your second place runner, Statman, and Statman right now for the Gazex Racing team. What he's trying to do here, I think now, is just hold on to second, and if needed, he may have to act as a bit of a buffer and perhaps sacrifice a little bit of his race for the race leader here. Although Bortolotti, to be fair, I think might be holding some pace back, but here comes Lux in the tow, in towards what we roller coaster they come with the Virginian corkscrew. It's left into right very quickly here as they both make the way, and it's too wide on entry, but Lux gets ahead. It's up into second now, as it will be Martin Statman falling down to third, but Callum Lux does clear another one, and now only one car is between him and an opportunity of victory here today. Which is Perry going to make the move, or I'm going to have to make the move for him? Well, there's your answer. Perry's going to go on the inside here of Dean into the braking zone. Edwards gets to watch it from the popcorn seat view. Perry there being too wide on exit. Dean's going to try and hang around the outside. Does Edwards think about going up the inside as well? He gets himself ready for it in case there's contact, but there's not. Perry there being fair. Dean tucks back in behind. Lovely move there from Tim Perry. And I think meanwhile Beardsworth will hope they don't get close up in time as Beardsworth's going to look up the inside. He goes all in, and it's from very far back. He gets it stopped, however, and Beardsworth there nails the move, but Tillerson's going to come back at him up the hill. Does he go in on the brakes here? This is bold to do it on the inside. No, he does not. And Brian Beardsworth at the end, he gets it wrong. He goes out wide at turn number 6. Tillerson's going to be too wide with him, but too wide they're going to turn 7. Tillerson goes to the switch back there. 9 is no way through, and in the end they come down towards turn number 8. Well, there Tillerson backs off. He lets Hutchinson go around the outside, but is it the right call? Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time to kick off our post-round interviews. And we go to the very top firstly, because joining me now in the interview room is none other than our pro winner today, Marius Hibner. Marius, good evening to you. And well, what a way to take a victory here at Mugello. Started third, took the win, and never looked back. I mean, you must be absolutely proud of this.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. Definitely wasn't expecting to get a win, and in fairness, I don't think I would have beat Hayden. He has so much pace in that Aston, but I think he just disconnected. I'm not sure if it was internet or PC what happened, but either way, I can't complain about a win. I'm very happy about that, and it's totally unexpected. So yeah.
Well, a very impressive performance from yourself. And like you say, a little bit of lady luck perhaps intervening with regards to the technical retirement for Hayden Miller. But let's dial it back a little bit. Third place in qualifying. I mean, we did see in the end Hayden Miller able just to outrun everyone in the qualifying session. But for yourself, you weren't too far behind in the end. Was there more time out there perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I think maximum I could have gotten 2/10 more out of it. I don't think I really realistically could have beat Hayden. I mean, he's just so quick in GT3s. But no, I'm actually quite happy with my qualifying lap. In the end, it was new PB for me as well, and it was so tight around the like P3 to P6 area. So I just got just about managed to get on top of all that and start P3. So yeah, I was very happy with my qualifying lap. Definitely a little bit more pace in it, but I don't think I can complain, to be honest.
Oh, fair play. Well, no complaints with regards to qualifying. And then when we went green flag racing, I mean, we did see you move very quickly up into second place. Of course, a little bit of drama played out directly behind you for the opening couple corners. Just take us through the opening 5 corners, perhaps, because it looked as though you benefited from a bit of madness that played out.
Yeah, I think the entirety of the Glasstec team tonight benefited from a bit of madness with the Vulcan boys. I haven't seen it. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but from my understanding, a few Vulcan cars just all kind of spun or had incidents in the background with I think one of them hit William and then spun and then that yeah created like a domino effect from my understanding. But I've not seen it. But yeah, definitely a bit of luck for us for that to happen. Very unlucky for all the Vulcan boys. They've had a very unlucky night with the beginning and then with Hayden's yeah technical issues. So definitely a lot of luck on our side today. And I mean at one point we were running P1, P2, P3. And Matt Hoyland then did an amazing job to keep the Vulcan guys behind until the pit stop, and I think that's honestly what secured the win. Yeah, it was the beginning of the race where they made mistakes and then fell behind Matt. He was just able to keep them behind for so long. So yeah, massive shout out to him. To be honest, I don't think we would have gotten P1 and P2 without him.
Now, just with regards to obviously the work being done by Matt, your teammate, how much are you going to be buying him in terms of alcohol or a drink of his preference after today? Because like you say, he did a brilliant job of holding up the Vulkan Motorsport trio of Ploeg, Darbyshire and Kenyon for so long. I mean, was he feeding through to you on the radio what he was doing, or was it a sort of you looked down the relative and saw, hold up, Matt's dropping back, but he's just keeping everybody behind him?
No, we were on the radio the entire race. Pretty much all the boys from all 3 Classic teams are usually in chat, and we were strategizing all race. And we decided in the end it was best for me and Will and Nick to just drive our own race and just do our own best and just not take any risks because we were in such a good position. And since it's only the 2 best scoring cars that score for the team's championship. I think we're more worried about the team's championship as a whole than drivers. I think Matt kind of volunteered to sacrifice his own race to basically almost secure a good result for me, Will, and Nick by keeping everyone else behind. And he did an absolutely amazing job as well. And I think they at some point they realized they couldn't really get past him and then stayed behind and fuel saved and then got him on the overcut as well. But at that point it was just I think a little bit too late.
Oh, indeed. And like you say, a huge effort there and a noble sacrifice being made by Matt Hyland for the sake of yourself and Will to be able to bring home a 1-2. And hence was the very end. I mean, the 2 of you were flawless. You gradually gapped your teammate, but it must have felt satisfactory to see that checkered flag and know you were leading home the Glasstec 1-2 and with a huge haul of points into the team's championship.
Oh yeah, it's amazing feeling to cross finish line P1. It's been a while since I won just a league race in general. I think, let alone an SRI race. I think it would have been all the way back in probably season 9, GT3 season. Was it season 10? I don't know. One of those seasons it was round 1 at Daytona, and to be honest, that race I won mainly due to having a faster car. Whereas tonight, sure, I mean Hayden had a technical difficulty, but apart from that, I did still come home with the fastest lap of the race, and I was still pulling a gap to everyone else in the end behind me. So it was really satisfying to feel like I did kind of work for this one, and I did kind of win because of my own skill and not like a car being super quick or someone else having difficulties. I mean, obviously Hayden had technical difficulties, but apart from that.
Well, indeed. I mean, nobody can take away what you're able to achieve here today. And like they say, any result in any sport, including motorsport, simulated and real, there's always going to be a degree of luck. But alongside the luck, you had the pace and, like you say, a fastest lap as well. So, coming out to this one, it's your first podium of the season. And what a way to make a first podium other than a win. We head to Fuji Speedway in a week's time. Can we expect you to make it 2 from 2 there?
To be honest, I have no idea. Fuji, it's not a track I'm massively experienced on. and it looks like it's gonna be mixed weather as well. So really, I have no idea who's gonna be good there. Last time we had mixed weather, Spa didn't go amazing for me, but that wasn't really due to the weather in the end. I think I was doing all right. It'll be interesting to see with Fuji because I really have no idea.
Oh, interesting. Well, like you say, if you've got no idea, we'll have to wait and see what ideas you give us when we do head there in a week's time. But just before I do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to on the broadcast?
Yeah, I wanna first of all, I've already said it, but I'll give another shout out to Matt Hoyland because he did an amazing job keeping everyone behind. And basically, I think he secured the 1-2 for me and Will, and also massively assisted Nick in getting P1 as well. So massive shout out to him, and then shout out to my mom as well for watching the streams and watching the broadcast and being my #1 supporter. And then shout out to Gracing Good, my sponsor.
Oh, well, a lovely set of shout-outs there. And, well, presuming that your mum is watching right now, I'm sure she is. Hello to Mrs. Hibber. And, well, so happy to have you tuned in and supporting your son. And, Maris, well done today. A brilliant result. We look forward to seeing whether you can find some more points at Fuji in a week's time and add some certainty to a bit of an unknown. But until Japan, we wish you a wonderful rest of your evening. And congratulations once again on your first pro win of the season.
Thank you.
So here and there from a very happy Maris Hibmer, but talking about the fact that really owing Matt Hoyland a huge amount of gratitude and also grateful to the luck that did come his way today for the technical issues for Hayden Miller. But have to be fair to him, whilst he did really talk about, and I do love the perspective and the context he did put onto his win, but nobody can take away from the fact that he really was as quick as Miller over the course of the distance. And if it had not gone wrong for Miller, well, could we have seen a battle between the two of them that would come down to the finest margins? We will never quite know, but what we do know today is that the Glass Tech racing driver really delivered when the void was opened up in front of him, and he never looked back. And, well, with that result, of course, it means it will propel him towards the front of the Pro Championship. But there's a long way to go, and at Fuji, he's not really sure what he can expect at the circuit, so we don't know what to expect from him. But what we do know is if he can get himself up to speed, he could definitely be back on the podium once again. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got more interviews to come, and very shortly, our second interview will be getting underway. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we come to a very familiar voice, and it is none other than Nick Stubb, who joins me in the interview room. Nick, good evening to you, and, well, a win at a circuit where the Mercedes didn't seem to be the quickest of cars, but to be fair, you got the job done. You were the quickest of them all, and Chris Jennings couldn't quite catch you in the end.
Good evening, Paul. No, he couldn't, which I was very surprised of, because before the pit stop, he was right behind us, and he stayed there. And I think right before the pit stop, the gap was just above 2 seconds, and after the pit stop, I just drove away. It was a really good race.
Oh, indeed, a fantastic race. But in terms of how it started, qualifying-wise, you took 13th overall at 3rd in class. But you definitely weren't the quickest out there in qualifying. We got to see you beaten to pole position by none other than the driver of Menno Blind. But of course, it looks like it all went wrong on the grid for Menno, but you still had what was Chris Jennings in front. So I have to ask firstly, qualifying, was it the perfect lap for yourself, or was there more time out there?
For this session, it was the perfect lap. I just couldn't put it together. The grip, there was a lack of grip compared to what I've practiced in, and I did, before I jumped in the session, a practice session with higher track temps. But even there, I was quicker than what I performed in qualifying. But I had a tow from Sam at my last try in qualifying, and then I was like, okay, that's it. I just can't go quicker, which I'm happy with, because P3 in class is amazing. And then I was like, just see how the race goes. Just survive the first few laps and then see how it goes.
Well, when the race did get going, we saw, of course, Menno have to start from the pit lane due to missing the gridding procedure. And so it suddenly became all about chasing down Chris Jennings. But only after the opening lap, you were into lead of the interclass.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by that. the crash ahead, as I saw it happening, and I was like, oh dear, here we go again, as the last 2 races happened, of course. But no, I managed to just avoid it, and Chris was right behind me, and then I was, what, P5 overall? And I stuck behind Hoyland, and we just drove away of the group behind. But yeah, Jennings was just there, and I think he tried 3 or 4 times to make a move, and then the gap dated a second, and he couldn't get closer to me, so it was perfect.
Now, I do have to ask, myself and Darryl, we both talked about it several times over the opening stint. You were at the back of the leading pro group, right in the slipstream, and Chris was gradually dropped. I mean, were you hoping that that was the way it's going to play, that you'd be able to stay in the draft of the pro so you could save a bit more fuel, and that Chris would just gradually fall back enough that he can't save the fuel in a Mustang that we know uses a lot of fuel?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that was exactly my plan, and it succeeded for a very long time. Only after the pit stop I was just gone, because they pitted a lap later, obviously. But I tried for 2 or 3 laps to fuel save a bit, but I couldn't stay on pace while saving. So I was like, okay, just push and see where it ends up, because I know indeed that the Mustang is very thirsty. So yeah, and then I saw that Jennings pitted right behind me, so I was like, okay, now this is perfect.
Well, an absolutely perfect setup. And as the race went on, we saw that gap, as you described earlier, just gradually open up. It did open to 3 seconds before the pit stops. And afterwards, you emerged 4.5 seconds ahead, and the gap just kept growing. So quite a straightforward run to the finish then.
Yeah, it was. At the last 5 laps, I was super careful to just not crash and get caught out by the torn off tires. But the worn off tires. But yeah, I managed to get through and didn't even pick up that many X's. Although I think the 3rd to last lap, the double right-hander go on the back end of the circuit, I almost lost it, because the setup was made to drive over the curbs a bit, very good, got all the sausages and stuff. But the first right-hander, the car bounces on the curb, and if your steering angle is a bit too much, it will unsettle your car, and I had it and almost lost it. So I hold my breath there, but yeah, I managed to get through, and I think I even lost a bit of time to Jennings, but yeah, the gap was big enough, so not a big deal.
Oh, indeed. And fortunately, you didn't make that mistake become a huge incident, because otherwise we could have seen you throwing away what would have been your first win of the season and your first result, which is really going to propel you perhaps into the top 12 of the Interclass. Fuji's up next. What can we expect from you in Japan?
I don't know. I don't know how the car will behave on Fuji, because I haven't driven the track for a good while. So I'm going to put a lot of practice in, and it's going to be wet, so yeah, exciting.
Oh, exciting times ahead, and we look forward to seeing you take on the challenge of Fuji in a week's time. But just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to?
Oh yeah, the whole team. The GlassTech team did an amazing performance today. We've shown who we are, and my friends and family who are always watching this stream, yeah, massive shout out to all of them.
Well, I'm sure they'll appreciate the shout out. Nick, we appreciate your time in the interview room. Congratulations on your first win of the season. Really getting the season going now. We look forward to seeing what you can do at Fuji. But until then, savour the moment, enjoy it, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Much appreciated, Paul. See you next week.
So hearing that, ladies and gentlemen, from Nick Stubb, a very happy GlassTech racing driver today, and we're all clicked together. But mention there, of course, the fact that he was happy with his qualifying lap, given the struggles he was having in qualifying. It was the best lap he could get out the car. But when we went racing, of course, Menno Bloem being demoted to the back of the field, that was a benefit. But he started to find his way past Chris Jennings. But in all the madness that played out in the open lap, he quickly took the lead of the class. But then he had to wait until he could stay with the pros in front of him, as we do see the footage in the background really demonstrating that, where he was then able to move forward with those pro drivers. And Jennings was gradually dropped, which was what his hope was. And in the end, it would expose Jennings to not be able to fuel save, where stub would be able to. And from then, it was just straightforward. Don't make any mistakes, although he made one minor mistake towards the end that almost saw the car into the barriers, or at least the gravel, but it didn't quite happen. And for Nick Stubb, that first win finally came about, but he's not sure what to expect at Fuji. That's 2 interviews now where both drivers have said they're not quite sure what's going to happen there. And he's got to get the practice together if he wants to try and carry on this momentum, because I'm sure many would like to see our Glass Tech Racing driver carry on the podiums at least in the interclass. But more interviews to come, ladies and gentlemen. We're back very shortly for our third interview of the day. And so, ladies and gentlemen, having spoken to a driver in Pro and having spoken to a driver in Inter, it's time we come to Club. And what better person to come to than Rob Mackay, who now joins me in the interview room. Rob, good evening to you. And what a day you've had, from 7th in qualifying to 2nd in the race. A race filled with excitement as well. I mean, you're probably thinking to yourself, what on earth happened?
Yeah, I have no idea how I ended up in 2nd place in that. I was just trying to concentrate on keeping the car pointing the right way, not getting too close to Andy and the boss man when we were battling on track, but trying to get past them. They didn't make it easy, but definitely made it fun.
Now, we do have to ask, of course, because we were expecting 2 sprint races today, but we've got a 1-hour feature instead. How much was the admin team bribed to be able to change the format at the last moment?
Not at all. I got tagged in a message in the Discord about half hour into the practice session by someone that had seen iRacing was saying it was an hour. So I logged on from the I can't get my words out now. The web-based UI, had a look at the settings there. I couldn't look for tonight's session because once it's gone live you can't click the edit button. So I looked at Suzuka, which is set as the 2x30 minute heat races, and all the settings there exactly the same. So it should have been 2 30-minute races. So assumed it was just an iRacing bug, and then yeah, when we gridded up or through warm up, it became obvious it had all gone wrong. And iRacing gave us an hour. Obviously, they didn't want 2 half-hour races; they just wanted the hour.
Oh, indeed. And whilst I am joking around with you a bit, it's unfortunate we didn't have the sprint races, but what we got to have in the end was an absolutely epic 1-hour race. And you're a big part of that. Of course, in the early stages, we got to see you have a brilliant ding-dong battle with Andy Schell. I mean, he was not making it easy for anybody behind him, yourself included, in his Corvette.
He never does. He's great to race against. His car positioning is spot on. He knew what I was going for down the start-finish straight every time, so we kept it over to the right. So I had to, with the overspeed out of the final corner, I had to go on to what would be the outside for turn 1, and I couldn't get the car slowed down enough to go round him on the outside, or even get the cut back and try and come back up for turn 2. So yeah, he made me work for it, and it was unfortunate that he did have the moment in the final corner that finally allowed me through.
Well, you managed to find a way on past, and then from that point onwards, it seems though the race was getting quicker and quicker for yourself. You suddenly were able to start chasing down the top 5 and found yourself right in the thick of battling with the likes of James Bostock and also Owen Seward. I mean, did you change your strategy as a result to compensate for it? Because it did look as though, really, you had so much pace to give, but everyone you came up against seemed to be slower.
I just was mainly focused on not making mistakes, not going back into my old trick of getting right behind someone and then pushing too hard and causing myself to have a spin and lose multiple places. It was more trying to sit on their bumper and force the error from the car ahead.
Oh, I see. Well, being smooth in the end, and it really worked out. You're able to pick up those places. Although, I do have to ask, Stuart Rice did go for the undercut. He pitted quite early in that pack. Were you worried that he was going to leapfrog you?
wasn't paying any attention to where I was and who was around me other than the car directly in front. So I had no idea who was undercutting or trying the overcut. What I will say is when I crossed the line, the car cut out because I was that tight on fuel.
Oh, goodness me. Well, managed it to the perfect limits then and running out of fuel literally across the finish line. I mean, we couldn't ask for a more perfect way to deliver a race from yourself, Rob. So second place today, a huge haul of points for yourself and the DXT Motorsports Thunder team. Fuji's next. What's the plan there?
More of the same, just try and survive, pick up places if people ahead make mistakes or get involved in incidents. Just try and keep it calm and steady. It seems to be working so far this season.
Oh, indeed. It's working out very well for yourself, and long may it continue. And just before I do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to on the broadcast?
This is normal to the various DXT teams. The lads are in voice comms with us through the race, and just everyone trying to help each other out and keep everyone's head straight.
Oh, well, Rob, it's been an absolute blast catching up with yourself after today's race. Congratulations on your second place. An absolutely brilliant drive to a podium. And well, we look forward to seeing plenty more from yourself in the weeks and rounds ahead. Double podium. Can you go the way to a win next time out? We'll see at Fuji. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your evening.
And you, Paul. Cheers, mate.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from none other than Rob Mackay. And, well, we jokingly grilled him about the lobby situation, admitting there the fact there was a technical hitch, but we went ahead anyway. And as they say, the show must go on. The show definitely went on today for Rob Mackay, and what a way to do it from his qualifying session, taking home that 7th place in the club class and promoted himself gradually to second place. But the way he did it, as he said, only looking at the cars in front of him, never looking or thinking about the bigger picture. And well, he had to take his time finding his way past Andy Chell, but when he did so, that really was the key that unlocked the doorway to be able to make that progress. And after that, he was fighting hard, as the pictures here demonstrate, where he was chasing after the likes of James Bostock and also Stuart Rice. And in the end, not thinking about Rice going for that undercut strategy, just seeing what he could do, keeping it smooth, keeping it consistent. And that's Rob Mackay in his element. And if he can do that again, we was third last time out. He was second today. Could he potentially take a victory at Fuji? Well, that's what we'll have to wait and see. But we've got more interviews to come, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back very shortly for our 4th interview of the night. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to our 4th interview, but we stay in the club class and catch up with a man who definitely had a race of 2 halves. It's none other than Andy Chell, who joins me now. Andy, good evening to you. And well, what an evening you've had. If we forget about the spin later on in the race and just focus on the first 15 to 20 minutes, I mean, you've made your Corvette so wide today, I think you've made it wider than the average double-decker bus.
It was good fun, that, to be honest with you, Paul. Rob did say he wasn't talking to me for a bit. His exact words. But no, it was good fun. And yeah, I think it's just the nature of the track, isn't it? If you know where to put the car properly, you can hold somebody back, even if they are a second faster than you. So it was just good fun knowing where to put the car. I'm still learning the Corvette, to be fair. So it's, as you know, not a car that I picked myself, but it's doing me all right so far, apart from slightly overdoing it into the last corner, which was more me than the car's fault, to be honest with you. So yeah, it was good fun.
Oh, well, great fun to be had, and starting in qualifying, 49th overall, 13th in class. I mean, it did seem as though in qualifying you couldn't find too much time, but also how close the field was today. I mean, were you upset about that, or just thinking to yourself, well, that's the way it's gone, we'll get it all in the race?
No, exactly that. Just thinking about that was the way it's gone. In practice, before tonight, me and Mike have been looking at it, and really here you need to be with another car if you're gonna get the best lap time out of it. Unfortunately for me tonight, my tow buddy, as we were going to do it, he's stuck at work. So, and it kind of when you're running on your own, you're losing time all the way down that straight, all the way down the back straights, things like that. It's hard work on your own, and to be fair, nobody wants to really give you a tow because they know what you're doing. So unless they're your teammate, they don't want to do it. So yeah, it was more right. Okay, it's going to be what it's going to be, knowing full well that in the race I usually tend to make up places anyway. And that was the main aim, to be honest. And then when we realised it wasn't going to be the 30 minutes, it was going to be the hour. Quick setup change, but nothing major, because we'd been practicing as if we were doing an hour anyway, just splitting it into 2 30-minutes so that we'd kind of get used to how the car would handle and learning where we put the fuel. So yeah, it was just right, okay, just take this as an hour's race then instead, and that was the plan after qualifying, because like I say, it was just what it was. So yeah.
Well, definitely a solid plan to go from qualifying into the race. And of course, we did see all that batting, but it was quite the shuffle in the early stages because there weren't too many big incidents. We saw you make up quite a few places when we went green flag. What was that opening lap like? Because you just suddenly shot up from 13th to, I do believe, 8th place.
It was just being brave, to be honest with you, Paul. I'm not going to lie. People had just give me just enough room, and I decided I was going for it, and it worked out. It's one of them where it's like if it had gone wrong, it'd have been complete zero. But it just so happened it opened up, and instead of it going terribly, it was kind of a hero moment sort of thing, getting in there and able to have some rather rewarding battles, to be honest with you.
Oh, indeed. Plenty of rewarding action, like you say. And speaking of those, I mean, we saw you going defensive time and time again, and you were building up quite the queue of cars behind you. I mean, just take us through that, because you're constantly having to drive in a way off of racing line. I mean, you must have been feeling it through the tyres and brakes at the end of the car, the fact you were working that Corvette so hard.
Yeah, I think the front left was not happy, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's one of them though. Unless we're on somewhere where I think somebody's going to take an attempt, which you can usually tell by just seeing them in the mirror what they're going to try and do. Kind of try and ignore it, because you'll get, if you watch the car behind in your mirrors all the time, you'll make a mistake, and that's kind of what I did into the final corner, to be honest with you. So I try not to do that if I can, and just focus on where I'm putting my car, making sure it's obvious if I'm going to be defensive where I'm putting the car, so it's not unexpected from anyone, especially with, sometimes there can be a little bit of lag or anything like that. So try and be as predictable as I can, but also hold my position and fight for my positions. So yeah, it's a skill, I'm not going to lie, and I think it's something that the guys, especially because we're all kind of veterans of SRI in this split, the guys that have raced me do know that if I'm in front of them and we're battling, they've got to work for it. I'm not just going to give it up. And I think that respect garners respect, because I've never had bumps or bruises while we've been doing it. So massive respect to everybody that we can go racing like that. So yeah, I think it's just one of them of knowing where people are going to try and do it, because thinking about, okay, where would I try this, and then watching, just keep an eye on them in them moments, and then just praying they give you the same respect that you're giving them, which, like I say, in this split seems to be pretty much everybody does that. So, yeah, it's all fun.
Oh, plenty of fun and plenty of respect being given each and every time, like you say. Although it was unfortunate it did go a bit wrong for yourself, that incident or that error through turn number 15. But even after that, you picked yourself back up and carried on. And in the end, brought home 11th place. I mean, some solid points, but I suspect you were definitely looking for a top 10 today.
Yeah, I was hoping for it. I mean, looking at who I was fighting around and where they finished, I think maybe 6th or 7th might have been on the cards today. So it's a little bit of a shame, but it is what it is. We pick up, as you say, we pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves off, and we'll go racing again in Fuji in a week's time. And hopefully we'll have both cars on track, and we'll see what we can pull off there.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing what you can pull off in our next round in Japan. But just before we do get ready to let you go, Andy, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, so as always, to yourself and to both Dara and Chaz for the amazing streams that you put on for us, because if you didn't come and showcase us, people wouldn't get to see the craziness that we have. All of the SRI team, I know all the work that they do in the background, it doesn't go unnoticed, it's really appreciated. So really big shout out to them, James and Rob especially, for putting in all the hard work into this series that they do. And then, even though he hasn't been able to race tonight, Mike, he's always a big champion in the corner, and all the team at Quatermass really. Hopefully, a few of them have been able to come and join and watch the stream tonight. And big thank you to them. And then finally, my gorgeous wife, who lets me come and actually do this, because she didn't, you wouldn't get to speak to me, mate. So, big thank you to G.
Well, a huge thank you to your missus for allowing you to race on a weekly basis, because we're very lucky and grateful to have you on the grid, Andy. Fantastic racing from yourself today. It's a shame it didn't quite pay off the way you wanted it to, but at Fuji, we'll see you bounce back again, I'm sure, and deliver even more exciting action in your Corvette. But until then, congratulations on your racing today. Thank you for joining me in the interview room, and we'll see you next time out.
See you soon, matey. Thank you very much.
So hearing there, ladies and gentlemen, from Andy Chell. He absolutely loved the racing today. And, well, in the end, qualifying, well, given how tight it was, he wasn't too upset by qualifying all the way down in 13th in class and 49th. But started the race, made the most, made, in his own words, the moves that others would perhaps not. He went all in, risked it all. But the respectful race in the end, he was able to take those places. And then subsequently, as we do see, and we've had in the background in the replay footage, constantly holding up a long train of club and inter drivers with Rob Mackay, as he mentioned there, saying to him immediately, I'm not going to be speaking to you for a while in the, what was the debriefing room or the cool down room, for the fact that in Andy Chell, well, he may not be the quickest driver out there, but goodness me, does he know how to make a Corvette wide fairly and respectfully. Unfortunately, it did go wrong towards the end of the opening stint for him. He lost the chance to finish inside the top 10 when he knew he had the pace to potentially take 6th or 7th, but still, at Fuji, he'll come back even stronger, and at some point, I suspect, we'll see him not just finish inside the top 10, but definitely inside the top 5, because each and every round, and he's grown as a driver, and well, if his defensive capabilities are this good, if he can get on the offense a bit more, well, I wouldn't be surprised if one day he could really be even looking at the podium this season. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got 2 more interviews to come. We've got a bumper edition today, and well, next up will come to none other than James Howarth, who's been waiting very patiently, so we're back very shortly. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned a moment ago, we've had a very patient James Howarth, who now comes and joins us in the interview room. James, good evening to you and appreciate you waiting. A great day for yourself today. 9th place to start with in the interclass, but by the end of the day, 4th place and not too far away from the podium.
Nah, I set up the car really well. It felt planted, but after the pit stop, I just seemed to forget how to drive, and I lost all the pace in the car, and I just saw David drive away in the distance.
Well, a race of 2 halves perhaps, but of course, one question I do have to ask is, in qualifying, what happened? Because given the pace you had in the race, were you perhaps not able to deliver that you wanted in qualifying?
No, a bit of traffic at the start, and then I was pushing that little bit too hard, and just kept getting off tracks. So I just thought, just let me get a time on the board and see where I end up.
Well, a fair way to approach it, but in the race we saw, whilst there was a lot of excitement perhaps for several other drivers in the interclass, for yourself, you made up a lot of places quite early on, but it almost went under the radar a little bit. Was that the way you felt the race went in terms of, I'll just take the places when others aren't looking?
No, not really. It's, again, I am in my old faithful. I know from my personal experience the tyres don't get up to racing temp as quick as others do, so I had to push that little bit harder on the first 2 or 3 laps to try and make the places. But I'm happy with the performance at the end of the day.
Well, indeed, a strong performance from yourself. And strategy-wise today, we did see a few drivers gamble by pitting early and going for the undercut. For yourself, you didn't quite seem to make the full 22 laps that many a driver did, but you went 21. Was that always part of the plan? Albeit, of course, we did have a sprint race originally on the schedule, so you've had to improvise a bit, I suspect.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the 1 hour race, I just instantly went to maximum capacity fuel load. It did say I had 22 laps on the dot, but obviously with the formation lap that would have not counted, and I didn't particularly want to risk it, so I just put it in a lap early, hoping to try and overcut David, but I got stuck in a little traffic, and again the mind went elsewhere and I forgot how to drive.
Well, you may have forgotten how to drive, but to be fair, you got all the hard driving out the way early on in the race, so that way you could focus on bringing home that fourth. I mean, as far as Mugello goes, it's not an easy circuit to stay focused at for the entirety of an hour's race.
No, I kind of like it. It's free-flowing. There's not really much challenging corners if you get the corner entry right, but again, every track's different. I'm not particularly looking forward to Fuji next week because it'll be mixed conditions, and we all know what I'm like in mixed conditions in this tank.
Well, it may not be the most exciting prospect for yourself at Fuji, but we do look forward to seeing you wrangle some points out of the changing conditions there. But just before we do get ready to let you go, 2 last questions. Firstly, if you're not looking forward to Fuji, what rounds are you looking forward to later in the season, perhaps?
Mangi Cores, Donington, Brands Hatch, and possibly Suzuki, but that depends on the weather.
Oh, fair point. I mean, Suzuka's always a bit weather dependent, but we look forward to seeing you take on those rounds in due course. But then, of course, I do have to ask, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to on the broadcast?
Yourself and Dara this evening. Obviously, Chaz can't make it because he's a superstar. Obviously, the DXT lot, we all have laugh and a joke in the chat, but when things become incidents, we tell each other where it is on track. The admin team of this league, again, is top notch. I couldn't fault it. And the girlfriend Laura.
Well, James, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me in the interview. Congratulations today on a solid top 5 performance in the interclass. We look forward to plenty more, even if it may be a bit of an uphill battle at Fuji next time out. We look forward to seeing you take on the challenge in mixed conditions. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Yeah, you too, pal.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from James Howarth, the DXT Motorsport Scion driver. I'm very interested in the way he's articulated that race. The first half all went very solidly. The second half of the race, forgot how to drive. Well, sometimes it happens, to be fair. Sometimes you just simply lose that knack and ability to be able to deliver lap after lap at some point in the race. You've got to try and get your head down. But to be fair, the way his race went today, he got all the hard work done in the first stint. So therefore, in the second stint, when it did start to go a bit wrong, he didn't really lose out out too much for it. The unfortunate thing was, of course, he was chasing down that third place spot occupied by David Hutchison. He was closing on him towards the end of the first stint, but his mistakes in the second stint meant that gap opened up and he couldn't quite seal a podium. But still, one to watch out for, although he's not expecting much at Fuji with the mixed conditions next time out. But indeed, watch out for him in a couple of rounds' time, including the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit and Magny-Cours, where he's feeling quite confident he may get a big score. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got one more interview to come, and this guy has been waiting for some time, and while we're not going to reveal who it is, you'll just have to be surprised very shortly, but we can give you a hint. We're going back to the Pro class. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for our final interview of the day, we come back to Pro, and we come to the man who today, for the greater good of none other than Glass Tech Racing, perhaps sacrificed his racing pro for the benefit of a 1-2 for Hibner and Humphrey, is, of course, Matt Hoyland. Matt, good evening to you. What a day you've had. I mean, you've made your Mercedes. If Chell made a Corvette as wide as a bus in the club class, I think you've made your Mercedes today so wide it's almost an aeroplane.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be fitting through many alleyways in it, but yeah, that was busy. It was definitely busy, but you know, I had a blast with it. It was great to be just focusing on actually battling for once rather than the longer game and the saving, and I really enjoyed it. It was nice to be able to get something back to the faster guys in the team.
Now, with regards to the way your day played out, if we looked purely at your qualifying performance, I don't think anyone would have believed that this was the way it was going to happen. You qualified 11th overall, 9th in the Pro class. What happened in qualifying? Because you had the pace to be in the top 5.
Honestly, I'm not sure. I think I was just more comfortable on a higher fuel load. I mean, in qualifying, I tend to run the higher fuel for a little while anyway, just to get myself a bit more dialed in with what the car's going to be for the race. But then I switched to the quali setup, which in theory should have been a lot quicker, and I think I made like 1/10. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe this setup isn't great for me. So I just wasn't as comfortable with the car on low fuel as I think others were. That's all. Once the fuel was back in it, yeah, happy as Larry, you know, was pretty comfortably hanging in there and being a nuisance. So I purely think it's just down to me not liking the car on light fuel.
Oh, fair play. Well, when we put the fuel in the car, you definitely looked a lot more comfortable in it. And the opening lap, now, of course, you came into the scene of Vulkan Motorsports having a bit of a moment going through the opening few corners. Where were you in all that?
Just behind it, literally just behind it. So I think by the entry of turn 1, I went outside, and I don't know if I think I made a place maybe on Lewis Kenyon through turn 2. And then obviously it all kicked off. Thankfully, it all sort of parted very quickly, which I think saved a lot of the field. Credit to the guys involved; they did stay out of the way. But it was one of those where there was like 4 cars involved, and it quite easily could have taken a lot more with them. So I just fortune for me really, and Nick as well, who was right behind me. Thankfully, we just right place, right time, and it opened up. And I don't think there was any particular skill involved. It was just lucky really.
Well, you're able to survive it through a bit of luck, like you say, but then after that, we got to see you become the biggest roadblock that Vulkan Motorsports will probably have to deal with this season. I mean, what point did the plan become for you to sacrifice your race, perhaps, to enable Maris and William to be able to run away? Because I can predict it probably wasn't the original plan, as we see the footage of you essentially getting Lewis Kenyon to go very deep and Seb Ply to literally hug your backside.
Yeah, there isn't ever really a major plan going into the race, because I don't think you can ever predict it. I mean, Will and Marius are absolute superstars as far as pace goes. For me to get on their pace, I'd have to spend a full week at it. So I know realistically they're the point scorers in my class, and then obviously Nick does a superb job in Inter. So really my job is to be there if something goes wrong. That's really my role. I'm not particularly worried about my own points. But yeah, as soon as the 3 Vulkan cars involved went off, it was immediate. I had Lewis in front of me, and the first idea was, right, you 2 go, stay with Hayden, and I'll just try and be a nuisance to Lewis. Didn't actually expect to get by him. I was just hoping to just sort of, you know, be there and be a nuisance and maybe make him overthink it a little bit. But managed to get by because he made a mistake, and then really, yeah, just didn't go out of my way to slow him down, but just sort of ran my pace, made sure the car was as wide as possible, as you say, and just hold him there as long as possible. And thankfully, it was enough at the end. I think Marius probably would have been safe anyway. His pace was really, really good. Will, I know, wasn't quite as comfortable, so hopefully me holding him up did make the difference for that P2.
Well, you definitely did a brilliant job. Whether it would have made the difference, not one as what-if questions, but you definitely made sure Vulkan Motorsports could not progress. Now, of course, they did go longer than everybody else. They went a 23rd lap before they pitted. Something tells me that when you came to the pits and saw them start, you thought, right, my job's done. I know now I'm going to be at the back of the train for the remainder of the race.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen pretty early on anyway. Obviously, the Vulkan guys are all incredibly fast in their own right, and they're well versed to being at the front and tactics and fuel save and everything else. And really, this is one of those rare tracks where I do gel pretty well with it, and it gets me up there into a position I'm not usually in. So yeah, I knew that was going to happen on the pit stop, but like I say, my aim was just to cost them as much time as possible before that point. As soon as I'd seen they'd done another lap, yeah, realistically, you've got to have some sort of insane outlap to be anywhere near them. But I hung with Sam and Lewis for pretty much until 2 laps from the end, I think, which surprised me. Obviously, Plug set off after Will, and I expected Sam, at least Sam, maybe Lewis as well, to go with him, but they didn't. So I was quite pleased with it, to be honest. I mean, yeah, it would have been nice to beat him at the end, but like I say, I'm not really concerned about my own points. So yeah, I'm more than happy with how it ended up.
Well, happy ending to the day for yourself. And a 6th place as well, so another top 10 on the cards and a good haul of points in this one. Up next is Fuji. What's the plan for the Japanese circuit?
Take it as it comes, the same as this one. Like I say, there's never really a plan. It has been a little while since I've been to Fuji with SRI. I think it's a good few seasons ago, and I think it was mixed weather. Is it mixed?
Indeed, it will be mixed weather
this season. Yeah, so it was last time, and that I did actually get a class win there, but that was not through pace. That was through an absolute massive amount of carnage happening when the rain came down. So yeah, I'll just try and repeat what I did last time. I'll keep it on the road and hope for the best.
Oh, fair play. Well, we look forward to seeing whether you can deliver a shock win once again at Fuji in a week's time. But just before we do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, just a massive shout out to GlassTech as always. Obviously, Will and Nick for the Marius and Nick nearly gave Will a win then. Marius and Nick for the class wins. They both did superbly, as did Will. Obviously, big shout to Will as well. The setup we were all running was all his work from scratch, and it was a joy to drive. Shout out to the Vulkan guys as well. Vulkan Fastness team, they did really well today, as did the SimStrat car. Oliver was on his own today in Superstars. I haven't spoken to him, but I'm sure he did a great job.
Oh, I do love the shout out there to both your teammates and also the sister teams as well. A huge effort from yourself and the guys at GlassTech on a weekly basis. And well done today to yourself, Matt. Once again, a brilliant drive. Really saw your defensive drive and on display. 6th place, huge point. Off to Fuji we go. And we'll see you there next week. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you, mate. Speak to you soon.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from our final interview of the day, Matt Hoyland for GlassTech Racing. And talking out there is no plan, improvise on the spot. And that's exactly what him and the team did. But after he managed to sneak his way up into 3rd place, where it was 4th, but effectively became 3rd when Hayden Miller unfortunately had to retire from the race due to a technical issue, he knew his role was to make sure that Vulkan Motorsports could not make progress, and he became the widest Mercedes that we have seen at Mugello. And he did it so well that in the end, well, it helped guarantee a 1-2 for his teammates of Marius Hibner and William Humphrey, but in his own right as well, knew that in the end he would be finishing behind the Vulkan Motorsports trio of Seb Plug, Lewis Kenyon and Sam Darbyshire, but also showing in his own right the pace he has here, and indeed he shouldn't undersell himself too much because he could always spring a surprise. He sprung one today, and he may be able to do so again at Fuji next time out, where he has had a lot of good fortune in mixed weather conditions in the past, and perhaps we'll see a Hoyland special next round. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all of our interviews complete. We've had a bumper edition because we've had so many interviews today, although we can't promise you we'll do that every round, but here's a recap of who exactly we've spoken to. And as we can see, we've had 6 interviews, 2 from each of our classes there. Great symmetry, because we started off in the Pro class with Glass Tech Racing's Maris Hibner. Our winner overall today benefited from the retirement of Hayden Miller, but also in his own right had absolutely electrifying pace. We then came to your Interclass winner of Nick Stubb for Glass Tech Racing. What a drive from him. A straight-up battle between himself and Chris Jennings when it all went wrong on the grid for Menno Blome, and in the end, Stubb was able to take the lead early on and run away with the pros in front of him and leave Jennings wondering how he was going to be able to save the fuel to be able to stay with Stubb. Then Rob Mackay, our first of 2 club class interviews for DXT Motorsports Thunder, talking about the surprising result of finishing second in the class, given he started 7th. And then we continued the theme of the club class, speaking to the world's widest Corvette driver of Quatermass Motorsports, Andy Chell, who in the end took 11th place home, but that was not the scale of his efforts there, and definitely had the pace today to be potentially in the top 5 if it were not for a mid-race spin. James Howarth then joined us in the Interclass of DXT Motorsports Cyan, talking about the fact that he got his head down in the first half of the race, and it made up for the difficulties in the second half of the race in his hunt for a 4th place finish in the Interclass. And we just heard from Pro classes Glass Tech Racing and Matt Hoyland, who in the end brought home 6th, but knowing at the end of the day it was about the team's championship for Glass Tech Racing rather than his own individual performance, and he sacrificed his race for the greater good of the team. So with that, a big thank you to all 6 of our interviewees. Well done to them all for their performances, and we look forward to plenty more in a week's time as we continue the story in Japan. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for us to wrap up. And we'll give you a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologise, a hair in the back of my throat there, but thank you very much for watching today. And if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now thinking, how can I get on the grid to go racing at SimRacing International? Well, for all that and more, we definitely recommend you join our official Discord. Invite link available on screen at the bottom there. And if you do, whether you're an esports professional all the way through to a rookie racer, there's a place for you on the grid here at SRI. And in terms of what you could be racing in, well, today you caught up the Thursday evening GT3 Championship in its 12th rendition. And we'd love to see you on the grid there if you're a GT3 enthusiast. Alternatively, if you're more of a GTE connoisseur, you can, of course, join our grid on Friday evenings, currently in the 2nd season of our GTE Championship. On Sundays, we also have GT3 racing in the form of Season 18 of the UK Sim Racing at GT3 League, albeit it's rebadged the Sunday Showdown for Season 18, with a special rule set and a whole new set of rounds playing out for our drivers as they get to grips with a whole new points format. But if you're looking for something far more casual, we do have free races per week in our practice league, which does run on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Saturdays, so there's never been a better time to be on the grid at SimRacing International. We'd also like to take a moment to say a huge thank you to our series and league sponsors, who do include Carmate, Modern Technology, the GP2 Group, and lastly, a huge shout out to Motorsport UK's esports division for recognising us at SimRacing International as a recommended community. We're very grateful for that recognition, and long may it continue throughout 2026 and beyond. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's onwards we go to our next round of racing, and well, next time out we will be in Japan for mixed conditions and a return to a 60-minute race as per the schedule, even though we had one today here at Mugello. And in round number 4, the racing action will occur on Thursday the 23rd of April 2026, but due to availability of the broadcasting team, we'll be bringing you all the racing action as if it were live on Saturday the 25th of April. And well, we'll continue the story there. And what did we get to see today? Well, Maris Hibner has landed his first win of the season, a critical win that'll move him right within touching distance of the top spots in the Pro Championship as Hayden Miller drops down the order with a retirement and Sam Darbyshire will pick up the slack at the very top. In the Interclass, well, Nick Stubb taking a win today and Chris James not being too far behind means they'll move up where others drop behind, particularly Menno Blome. And meanwhile, in the Club Class, well, Andrew Lartman absolutely led the way today with nobody being able to touch him. Can he do it again next time out and potentially take the lead of the Club Class and run off into the distance? Well, for all that and more, you'll need to tune in on the Saturday the 25th to find out how the story continues. But until then, we've been SimRacing International. You've been catching up with the Master Split of the Thursday GT3 Championship Season 12, and I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. Joining me early on was Dara Thacker, of course. A huge thank you to Dara, and well, we really do appreciate his great efforts in the commentary booth, as always. And well, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.